I said it's Denzel Washington, the best actor ever. He's so darn cool, he's so darn clever. I think that you're the man, and Mike does too. Denzel, if you want, you can join our crew. I said it's Denzel Washington, the best actor ever. He's so darn cool, he's so darn clever. I think that you're the man, and Mike does too. Denzel, if you want, you can join our crew.
Let's go, nigga, let's go.
We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I am Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend. He's gonna get you a good show for you, I can guarantee you that. BanditIncorporated.
What? Hello.
Woo!
Hello.
All right.
Trilbee
Yes,
is not
yes,
here.
No. Trilbee will not show up for this podcast. I can guarantee you that. Bandit, I can guarantee it's going to be a good show tonight. He says that in every one of his movies. if you ever watch a Denzel Washington movie, I saw this video on Facebook, that says that in every one of his movies, he says the line, "I can guarantee you that." And so I went back and I looked through it, and apparently he does. He says that line a lot in like every one of his movies.
I'm gonna find out the truth. I guarantee you that.
I guarantee you won't be lonely.
I can guarantee you peace of mind.
You're gonna do some damage out here, I guarantee you.
It ain't down there, I can guarantee you that.
So that's gonna be the recurring theme. I'm gonna bring that joke back every now and then on the show today. How have you been, Bandit?
I've been good. Very uneventful time.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
We're in that. Well, I guess kind of the same way. You know, I've just been doing what I do. Excuse me, doing homework and watching movies. But we're in that sweet spot where we're in September, where not the big Oscar movies for me, and then none of the big blockbusters for everybody else, and myself included. So we're in that kind of sweet spot of where we're like, it's like the teenage years of movie season, where they grow out of their crazy, silly summer movie phase into the more sophisticated Oscar season. Yes.
Yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
That's the sweet spot. That's one way of putting it. Yeah, another way of putting it is that it's the graveyard shift.
Yeah,
because there's big movies coming out. There's no big sort of trailers coming out. So the internet's very quiet, and I'm like, oh, will a trailer please come out or something?
When October hits, Disney's gonna have that Rogue One trailer. It's gonna be like, don't worry, Episode 8 teaser, there you are. Because It's like, this is why I suggested James Cameron release Avatar 2 in September. For moments like these where they can have a weekend. Just here in America, we had the second lowest weekend of the year this past weekend in September, or even a movie like Blair Witch couldn't beat Sully, so whatever. And I feel like if James Cameron were to say, Avatar 2 comes out in September, it would make so much more money than to put it next to Star Wars. Because it can just, dominate September and, most of October until a Marvel movie hits in November. But whatever.
I get why the studios, they're like, we got to compete with the other studio, so we'll put what we can up against. Something has to go up against it. But if you're the director, you don't care about that. You'd just be like, I don't care. I just want to put it where it's going to make money so I can keep my job.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're Zack Snyder, then you can continually fail and just keep getting more and more work. You fail up if your name is Zack Snyder for some reason.
It's like you have just enough, for every thousands and thousands of people that want you off the movie, there's 5 people that say, no, I kind of like the movie, and that's all they need, and they bring them right on back. I mean, look, I don't know how this always how to somehow turn to a Zack Snyder hate show again, but like I said, I really enjoy Man of Steel. I think it's a great origin story. I thought Dawn of Justice was crap. I thought Suicide Squad was crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to say. It's let's get to the movie news.
Let's do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
All right, guys, well, this is the movie news. In which case, we talk about the movie news that has been released over the course of the past week. For starters, it's I'm on the show, so we got to talk about Star Wars. Rogue One, it's coming out. We all know how I feel about Rogue One. Everyone else in the world is excited for it. I have my concerns. My concerns are further realized as they just lost their film composer. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Alexandre Desplat. Whatever, it's a French name. He did a score for some of the Harry Potter films. I think he won an Oscar a couple of years back. I think he was nominated twice in the same year for different movies. He's a very realized composer, if you will. He's left the project. Granted, they replaced him with Michael Giacchino, who's done a lot of J.J. Abrams stuff, Super 8, Star Trek. I think he did Inside Out. He's done some Pixar work. But, still, it is odd to hear that they've lost a composer. Apparently the reason is the extensive reshoots has had a need for rescoring that he cannot fit into his schedule, which, again, concerns me. Because Alexandre Desplat has a very interesting style of scoring. If you go back and listen to his music, and I'm a music nerd, so this kind of applies to me, I guess. And then Michael Giacchino always has a kind of upbeat, fast-paced Star Trek, lots of violins and loud band instruments. So I feel like, once again, we are getting a different movie the more and more we hear about these reshoots. But what do you think about this, Bandit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to say, the composer, it doesn't really matter, but no, it really matters. Music is one of those things you might not always notice in a movie, but it makes such a difference.
It's like a fan in a bedroom. It's like, you forget that it's there sometimes, but the moment it's gone, you realize because something's just wrong. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Trilbee's not here, but I'm imagining he would say something like, hey, look, every movie has reshoots. Every movie has shuffling around stuff. So
but do we really hear about this much? Like this, I know the event. I know Age of Ultron brought in Danny Elfman to do additional music, which I would imagine, I guess, would be for the Vision score. But I don't know what it was. But which was weird. They brought in Danny Elfman to do extra music. But my point is, it's weird. Like it's odd
his
to
name,
me that
his vision. He's purple and with a laser in his head.
Yeah,
He's vision. He's vision.
Oh, vision. Da, 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 da. Yep. Danny Elfman music. Hey, I love his music. So it's weird to me because Rogue One, it's not that far away. We're in September, we're in mid-September. It's 2.5 months away at this point. Oh my god. Yeah, it's 2.5 months away at this point, I think. Maybe 3 months. And you know what I'm saying? It's just odd that I think this laid out, they're just now attempting to rescore the film, and they're in the editing bay, and apparently, like I said before, director Gareth Edwards has been put to the back seat of the editing bay, apparently, for someone else to take over. It's just something does not smell right.
I don't know. Look, I'm still excited for it. Like, I know you're not. But I still don't understand why. But I know you're not.
I'm so hyped, Bandit. You know me. When the tickets first go on sale, I'm gonna get the Thursday night tickets, or the quickest ones I can. I'm super hyped for the film. I'm just nervous because I feel like Disney is trying to replicate the success of The Force Awakens when they promised us that this was not going to be an episodic series of films, the Star Wars stories. But I have some trepidations, but that's whatever.
I don't really see any connection between this and The Force Awakens. Their Star Wars.
But I feel like they're trying to make more connect, because this is a war film. Yes, there's and it's been pitched as a war film. But then you hear about what's going on behind the scenes and how they're making the film lighter. They're having extensive reshoots to the point where they need to change character introductions and they're rescoring the film with a different style of composer. It just something feels like they're kind of like what DC did with Suicide Squad. Maybe not to that massive of an extent, probably, but just to the point of where they had something different and they changed it pretty late into the game. I'm to see how the movie turns out at this point. Yeah.
But look, I mean, I don't think just because they're deciding to make the movie, because it was pretty dark originally as a Star Wars movie, so I think them making it light. That's what's important about it. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm interrupting. But them making it lighter doesn't necessarily mean they're like, hey, let's make it like Force Awakens. It seems like a logical decision to me, because it's like, well, this is Star Wars. Nobody goes into a Star Wars movie expecting it to be dark, so maybe they're just worried it's too jarring of like a tonal shift for people who are used to Star Wars.
But I think that's what this movie's job was needing to be. I think Rogue One was the film that was to say, okay, you have the episode films, you have the films that feel like the fun space opera Star Wars films, but Rogue One needs to establish that this is a film set in the Star Wars universe, yes, but it's going to get to have its own feel to it. Because I feel, and we had this talk before about if they start doing 2 Star Wars movies a year, which eventually they definitely will be doing, and each one of them feels like a quote unquote Star Wars movie, we're going to get sick of it very, very quickly. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I think that Rogue One was their chance to say, because Han Solo is going to be a very fun adventure because it has the guys at the Lego Movie behind it, and it's Han Solo. This was their chance to say, oh no, this is going to be is Obi-Wan going to be singing and dancing in the desert? Now, I'm starting to get concerned that they're like, oh, this is Star Wars and we're Disney, so we can't have a movie be dark. I'm like, well, you can, but anyways, like I said, I'm nervous for Rogue One. I feel like I'm the only one that's freaking out over here.
Yeah, I think you are.
Yeah.
You're the only one who's like, this is it, guys. Star Wars is done after this.
I feel like I'm the only one that's looking at this. I feel like I'm like Andrew Garfield in Social Network. I'm just like, maybe we're doing something wrong here. Maybe something's falling apart now. It's just like, shut up. It's gonna be amazing. It's Star Wars. I feel like the guy before Phantom Menace came out, he was like, what if it sucks? Like, it's not gonna suck. Like, you see that?
I'm like, how could it suck? It could not suck.
The best part, like I said, I'm gonna end up loving the movie to death, and you're gonna end up really disliking it. I see it happening that way. I cannot wait for that episode.
Look, I'm just happy that it's an original story. Like, I'm just happy that they're actually making a new story.
If they're changing things to make it feel like more like Star Wars, maybe it's not going to have more originality to it. The premise is original, sure, but maybe the feel isn't going to be original anymore.
Well, unless they're doing it as a carbon copy of Empire Strikes Back, I don't know how you could.
That's Episode 8's job, and you know it. Calm down.
That's right.
Apparently, also, I know how Episode 8 opens based off of some rumors that have been confirmed by a few people. I'm not going to say it on the show, but let's just say it. That's pretty awesome. If you remember, I'll tell you afterwards.
Why don't you just say it? Come on, you're not going to get in trouble.
No, I'm not worried about getting in trouble. I don't want people to. No, first of all, don't peer pressure me. I'm not 12, Bandit. It's like
all the cool kids are doing it.
I bet. Yeah. Where are they? Jail? Yeah, that's right. I don't.
Let me guess. It opens with a shot of space. Yep, got it.
I really hope not. I really hope it doesn't. I'm kind of sick of Star Wars movies opening in space and having it pan up or down. I kind of want to have it, like I said, in like Rogue One, have a shot of
like a planet or a ship flying past. That's the way it'll open.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like open up on like a planet exploding. I'm down for that, but I won't say because I don't want to ruin it for people. Unless you want to put a spoiler alert in here right now.
I suppose I could, but
yeah, but you don't want to, do you? So I won't say it.
Well, it's not really a spoiler because we don't even know if it's true, and it's only the opening shot.
It's not the opening shot. It's the opening scene. Yeah.
Well, see, now you have to say it, because if you don't, this whole conversation's been a waste of time.
Maybe it has been, Ben. That's just you're making it go longer. Second story, we got
cagey. Nobody cares. It's just the opening shot.
It's just the openings. It's not the opening shot. It's the opening scene. It's just the opening scene of the most anticipated movie since Episode 7. Don't worry about it. Nope.
Tell us.
Nope. So there's a new bat suit that got released. Have you seen this one? Have you seen this?
Sorry, everyone out there who was thinking, hey, this is going to be a good podcast. When we have a breaking news story, we don't tell you. That's what we do on Movie Mania. We don't tell you things that you cannot hear anywhere else. We're not that kind of podcast.
You can find it on Jedi Council.
We're only going to tell you stuff that you already know. That's what's going to make us great.
You can find it on Jedi Council, you ass.
Way to make our podcast special. We have some amazing news that no one else can tell you, but we're not going to tell you. Are you excited?
Find it on Jedi Council.
Tune in next week where we also don't tell you more stuff.
First of all, I dropped it as a small comment. You turned it into a 5-minute conversation. This was your fault. I dropped a small comment and I said we can talk about it after the show, and you just decided to make it bigger than it needed to be. Second of all, you can find the full story on Jedi Council if you go to their podcast and look that up. That's where I found it in the first place. Third of all, there's a new Batman suit that's out. Have you seen it, Bandit?
Yeah, briefly, yeah.
Yeah, it just okay. Well,
It's
Ice
sort-
One's
sort
Ice
of-
One.
Yeah. It looks more sort of mechanical, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got the goggles and everything. I just wanted to know your thoughts about that briefly. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, the costumes can look as great as they want. I'm just nervous about the movie itself. Going back and watching the Justice League trailer, I think it looks great. But the DC Cinematic Universe, again, it has me so jaded and just so indifferent to the whole ordeal at this point, because we now know that we can no longer trust DC trailers because Batman, Superman, and Suicide Squad both had incredible trailers, and they both crapped the bag on it, and so I think we can't trust the trailers anymore. We can't trust the images anymore. All we can really trust is the movie, and even then, apparently we can't trust the movie because apparently DC can't even put out a real movie anymore. They have to put out like chopped up versions of what their movies originally were going to be. So I can't right now. It's horrible.
But that's we have to remember with Zack Snyder movies, that's the one thing you don't need to worry about is that everything will look awesome. That's the one thing you don't have to worry about with Zack Snyder movies.
Because the third act of Batman and Superman looked trash. It was just a bunch of CGI lightning running around and a bunch of CG flying at each other.
Need I remind you how awesome Aquaman's cameo was?
Dude, that awesome
so
commercial
cool.
where his hair's flown in the ocean, that really cool shampoo commercial where it's like slow motion hair and that really cool bit where it looks at the camera for 18 seconds. That was awesome.
Yeah,
I did like the flash.
On second thoughts, yeah, we do have to worry about that.
Yeah, we have a lot to worry about with this movie, which sucks because I bet you that I bet you all the comedy's going to be like awkward Michael Bay comedy. I'm gonna get a lot of crap for this. Be like, quit hating on DC. I like Suicide Squad. I'm like, I don't care at this point. I no longer care if you like a DC movie because 9 times out of 10, the reason people try to defend a DC movie is for stupid reasons. No, Martha is not deep. DC fans, Martha's not deep. It's I can't say that word on the podcast. It's stupid. I can't say what I really want to say. I won't say that because I respect people. God. Anyways.
Right.
Episode 8 opening. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so speaking of Disney,
By the
though.
way, thanks for plugging the other podcast where they actually say that. So not only do you not give us the news, you actually encourage other people to leave our podcast and go listen to someone else's. Thanks, Trey. Really good.
Would you rather just dropped an episode 8 spoiler in the middle of the podcast?
It's not a spoiler. It's just the first.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
The opening scene of the movie is definitely a spoiler.
Well, that's
Bandit.
fine. Look, if you're not going to say it, then don't mention it. Because it's like once you mention it.
This is not what I thought we were going to be arguing about. This is never. It's crazy how I never think we're going to argue about something, then we end up arguing about something, like an old married couple, Bandit.
It's like in movie logic. If a character bursts through the door with a gun, someone has to get shot. You can't show someone with a gun and then not have someone get shot in a movie. It's anticlimactic.
No, what this is like.
You can't
this is like
say
someone's
you've got this amazing Star Wars news and then not
It's like
tell
a
us.
sheriff walking in. It's like a sheriff walking into a room, and he happens to have a gun in his holster. We don't make a big deal about it, and then someone goes, "Hey, sheriff, can I hold that gun of yours?" And then suddenly, someone has to shoot the gun because you brought it up. You made it a bigger deal than it needed to be.
No, this is like someone going, "Oh, hey, I know who the second gunman behind the grassy knoll was." But anyway, let's not talk about that. So, you'd be like, "Wait, what? What? Go back."
I have an HD copy of the Kennedy assassination, but don't worry about it. No, tell you what, man. I will tell you what it is, and you're going to be very disappointed at this point.
Hooray!
All right, so we better put a spoiler point in here, make an edit point, because I'm not about to have people yelling at me that I ruined episode 8 for them, okay?
Okay.
Alright, well, the opening scene apparently takes place on Ahch-To, which is the planet where they find Luke Skywalker, at which point Kylo Ren and a few Knights of Ren find the planet, and Luke Skywalker has an epic fight scene. That is the opening scene of the movie, apparently.
Ooh.
There you go. Yeah, I know,
So
doesn't it sound
opens
awesome?
with that.
Apparently so. It sounds really cool.
So
yeah.
no training of Rey? They're just skipping over that whole part?
I'd like to imagine that they have to flee because apparently it opens up it opens up nearly directly after episode 7. So something has to happen to where Kylo Ren's able to find them. Oh man! And then like we meet some other Knights of Ren. Maybe that's where we meet because Benicio del Toro's in it. Oh, everything gets me so giddy and excited. My theory is that he was playing Thrawn, but that's whatever. Man.
Either that or when Chewie hovered down to pick up Rey. Kylo just went, ugh, and he just threw a tracking device onto the Millennium Falcon.
That'd be kind of cool.
So she flies there, and he's just like, oh, there he is. There's Luke. Let's go get him.
But here's my thing, right? The Force
That
Awakens.
might redeem him for being such a bad villain in that fight. If he's like, I lost because I wanted you to find Luke, or something like that.
You can pull a Joker. I think the worst part about episode 7 is that map. I'd like to imagine because like it's like saying, where's Luke Skywalker? Oh, he's in Peru. Oh, but we need the direct map to Peru. We can't just go to Peru. You know, it's like they have the dot of where he is, right? But they're missing this chunk out. I'm like, just go around.
Yeah, they're like, we can't find him anywhere, and it's like, well, here's the only piece of the map you haven't looked at.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe he's
in
right
there. Especially considering his line of trajectory heads right into it.
Yeah, it's like I like to imagine JJ like drew the dot to where Luke was like kind of like on the edge of the map or whatever, so it's like right outside the reach. But then like one of the animators got it wrong, and so they put it inside the circle. And JJ's watching. He's just like, what did you guys do? You had one job. What? Oh, and so yeah, that's my favorite part with that movie. But anyways,
we should say, because I know all the Force Awakens fans are going to be, well, actually, shifting the glasses on their face. Well, actually, the data was too complex. There was so much data in that star system section. That's why R2 had to go into sleep mode so he could combine like all of his computing, all this processing data into just decoding that. That's why it took so long. Yes, we know.
Maybe just go like light speed, like directly to it.
Of it.
Maybe just go like light speed, like directly to it. I don't know, like just straight line. I'm sure you would find it.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm legitimate. Oh God, I'm so annoyed. Anyways,
we'll send Leia in there. She can use the Force. She's a little bit more Force sensitive.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the Force is about, isn't it?
Yeah. You feel kind of like that's kind of what the Force is, huh? Yeah? No?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, hey, just send Rey in there. I'm sure she'll find him no trouble because she can apparently do everything with no trouble.
Oh my God. Oh my God. She definitely gets captured. I think people forget that happens. She definitely gets captured, but she definitely escapes because she's an endearing character.
Yep.
And she's the daughter of the greatest...
28 seconds. That's right.
She doesn't escape in 28 seconds.
She masters mind control and escapes within 28 seconds. Good job,
That's
Ray.
not true. There's no way that's true. My voice is correct. That's not... It didn't take 28 seconds for her to get out.
From the time she first attempts to do a mind control to the time she masters it, 28 seconds. It took Luke 3 movies before he could do it.
No way. Absolutely not. I don't buy it. I mean, I'm sure I could watch the movie.
Remember, Luke is like, I must be allowed to speak. And even then, it doesn't work on Jabba. Took him 3 movies. She does it in 28 seconds.
Jabba the Hutt's not a stormtrooper, Bandit. The hell, Jabba the Hutt's different than the stormtrooper.
Yeah. My point is, he had to earn his skills. She just has them.
You're just a sexist, misogynistic.
I am
loser.
sexist, misogynist, but I also... No. It's just,
anyways,
it's like...
Okay.
See, that's why, like, I think Kung Fu Panda is better than Rey. You know what?
What?
Because Rey is like...
Hold on, guys. Put that on a shirt. If we ever get T-shirts, make that the first shirt. Kung Fu Panda is better than Rey.
Kung Fu Panda is better than Rey because Kung Fu Panda.
You mean Poe? You mean Poe,
yes,
the character Poe?
Especially the very first movie because.
You called him Kung Fu Panda.
Yes, because he's like it starts out where he's like, "You are the Dragon Emperor, whatever it is, or the Dragon Warrior," and he's like, "Oh, I guess I am." But the whole point of that story is at the end, like he undoes the scroll and it's just him. So it's like you think that you're the Dragon Warrior because you're chosen, but really it was just you. You just worked at it. That was the whole point. It's like it's just you.
Yeah.
It's
like
like
secret ingredient.
Yeah, his dad goes, "What's the secret ingredient?" There is no.
This universe has the Force.
You just believe that there is. But the moral of that's like an anti-Chosen One story. Because it's like, no, it's just you. Just work hard.
Yeah.
I love that.
In that universe. This is Star Wars. This is different.
And see, Rey, on the other hand, is like, hey, either you're born awesome or you're not. And if you're not, doesn't matter what you do. Never going to succeed. It's like, yeah, thanks a lot. Okay.
Listen, I guarantee you in the next movie, Rey's going to lose a lot. Not only because it's the middle chapter, and that's just what happens in middle chapters of all trilogies, not just Star Wars films. But because at this rate, people have complained so much about it for no reason at all. It's like, it's weird because like everyone's like, oh, Daisy Ridley's so great. What?
All right. Let me give you a scenario, right? Okay. Original trilogy, Return of the Jedi. Luke fights
Trash
Vader.
movie.
Okay. But we all know... You remember that bit when Luke, at the end, when he finally flips out and he's like wailing on Vader and he knocks him down and cuts his hand off? The Emperor's like,
great bit. Great scene. The only good scene in that movie. Yes, I remember.
Great scene. Such a great impact, right? You remember how that impact that had when you first saw it, where you're like, oh my God, Luke. Would you have still have had that reaction to that scene if Luke had fought Vader in A New Hope and had already beaten him that badly in the first movie? Would you still have had that reaction when he finally defeats him in the third? No.
First of all,
you would not.
Hey,
and that's exactly what's going to happen in the fourth.
Hey,
Force
Bandit, maybe don't answer my question for me. Don't ask a question and then answer it for me, you loser. Okay, you asked me if I would feel that impact for Luke. Maybe A, if Mark Hamill was a better actor in New Hope, he got better as it went along. But B, maybe if Luke didn't grow up with his aunt and uncle, people he deeply cared about, and grew up by himself, not anyone around him except aliens that would constantly try to either kill him, or even worse. And then possibly when he would get the first father figure in his life that truly made him feel belonging, got killed by Vader, then I probably would feel the impact. But no,
to quote Denzel Washington, blah 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 blah. The answer is no. You wouldn't. You're trying to justify it because you're biased, but the answer is no. You wouldn't.
Whoa!
If Luke had already beaten up Vader, you would not care that much when he beats him again.
You can't. That is. There's no way you can compare that because it's two different animals. It's like apples and oranges.
Look,
it's two completely different kind of things.
You yourself talk about how Star Wars is the classic hero's journey, and with the hero's journey, when the hero defeats the villain, that's like climbing to the top of the mountain. Once you've climbed to the top of the mountain, you can't reclimb it again and have the same impact.
No, but you can kick.
She climbed the mountain at the end of Force Awakens. She already beat the villain. She can go back down and climb up to the top of but it's not going to have the same impact.
You don't know that.
They wasted it. They ruined it.
I can't believe you're bringing this argument back of the whole Agent Smith thing. I can't believe you're trying to do this thing again. I can't believe you're doing this again. I think we've already settled that there's no way you're going to sway. Neither of us are going to sway the other. So that being said, apparently there's going to be no chance ever that we're going to see the Netflix characters cross over into the MCU because. I'm just going to
seamless segue there. Yeah.
Go ahead and skip past that conversation all over. Because when the Russo brothers, who are doing Infinity War, were asked about the Netflix characters being in Infinity War, they said, and I quote, we're thinking it. We've thought about it in their inclusion, which to me simply answers the question by saying no, because if they were in it, they would have known by now, and they definitely would have said something by now, and we would know by now if they were going to be in it. Apparently this officially closes the door for some reason they're leaving the Netflix characters in the Netflix universe and just leaving them outside the MCU together, which is complete and utter beef shank. But what do you think, Bandit?
It would, on the one hand, it'd be nice to see them cross over, but I'm kind of okay with them having their own little street-level universe. What do you reckon?
Mm-hmm. I think... It's not. I'm not saying that because everyone's like, "Oh, you want to see Jessica Jones talk to Iron Man?" I'm like, no, but just because they're in the MCU doesn't mean they have to be in the Avengers movies. All that means is that they can show up in other movies, or characters can show up in their shows. Characters that wouldn't make sense. It would make sense to have Spider-Man show up in the Daredevil universe if you know the character of Spider-Man. Spider-Man is essentially a street-level hero. Just because all his movies happen fight supervillains in like New York City and like Empire State Building, he still fights street-level crime. That's what he does. And so I think I think people tend to forget that. And so and plus, like I said before, Kingpin is a Spider-Man villain as well as a Daredevil villain. He leads the Sinister Six. It's just it's disappointing to me because I feel like we're having a wasted opportunity because especially because this has the chance to keep the Netflix stuff from getting stale. Because we've even had chats about how the Netflix Marvel seasons always have this issue of like the first 4 episodes are awesome and then it ends awesome and then it has that drag in the middle. How great would it be if instead of having that drag in the middle, you added some elements from the Marvel Cinematic Universe to kind of help tie the whole thing together? I'm not saying we need to have Captain America make a cameo every 2 episodes. There's a happy medium. I feel like there's a difference between Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and this, where we have now. There's somewhere in the middle is a nice blended together universe that we're never going to get, which kind of depresses me, but whatever.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but
yeah,
I guess the danger with that is like if they start bringing in Netflix stuff in the movies as well, we might get into sort of X-Men territory where they shove in too many characters,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe it's better they stay in Netflix so we can focus on the characters.
Well, I think Marvel has found the good balance of keeping their characters together, at least when the directors are willing to collaborate. I think the reason Thor always gets shafted in the Avengers films is because maybe Joss Whedon just doesn't like Thor. So, but I think, especially if...
Excuse me, he does not get shafted. He's down in Australia with his mate.
Oh, that's right. He's chilling with Daryl.
With Daryl. That's right. That's the next Netflix series right there. I'd be cool with him having a Netflix series.
I would watch the hell out of that. Pardon my French. I'd watch that show so bad. That used to happen now.
That show. That'd be great.
Let me get a Netflix
Chris
series.
Chris Hemsworth would totally do it too.
He's so good. He's so funny. But anyways, it's like maybe have a scene where I don't know. Peter Parker is and Peter Parker is in the detention office, and it's like, well, do you have somebody to get you out? Like he's in the principal office. Do you have somebody to get you out of this? And you can my Uncle Matt's gonna help me out. And then Matt Murdock walks through and gets him out of detention or something as simple as that. Just because, and then you can have Spider-Man show up and help fight a bad guy in the Daredevil TV show, and it's like it would provide, especially
like little bits where. Only if you get the Netflix show would you get the reference, like that sort of thing.
Well, but at the same time, it still helps the story. And if you don't know that character, that doesn't stray from the actual form. Like when Captain America showed up in Thor: The Dark World by Loki transforming into him, everyone loved that because it showed how connected this universe was, even when Thor was so far away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You mean
like in Jessica Jones when that nurse who treated Daredevil in the other show shows up and treats her, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that.
Something like that.
Because even if you haven't seen Daredevil, it doesn't matter. You still get what's happening in the scene.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, actually, that'd be good.
I think people hear the term TV meets Marvel and they think of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which sucks because you can have a way to do that without having them be like, well, Captain America did this, and watch out, you don't want to be that Hulk guy. There's a way to do it without it being stupid, but... Anyways, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is killing Ghost Rider, so whatever.
Hey, speaking of which, do you know when the Luke Cage Netflix series comes out?
Ooh, yes. I was going to talk to you about that. Do you want to do it's September 30th. Do you want to do an episode on Luke Cage, or do you want to do it for homework, or? Okay,
I'll probably start reviewing it when he comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do I smell a channel crossover again?
Yeah, I'll be up for it. You want to do that?
Sick. All right. Yep. There goes that traffic again. Yay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so our final news story here. Bandit, did you watch the link I sent you?
Unfortunately so, yes.
Yeah. So, Bandits, the trailer for 50 Shades Darker has dropped on the internet. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I remember when 50 Shades of Grey came out and we did our best and worst of the year, we all decided that was the worst movie of the year.
I did not
though
agree
none
with
of us had seen it.
Hold on, that's definitely not true. I think Trilbee definitely saw it. You didn't see it. I saw it. You didn't see it because of out of principle. I'm pretty sure Trilbee saw it. because he made it his number one. I know you made it. I think it was like your number two or something, and you didn't see it. I know you didn't see it, but I saw it. And I remember I said I didn't hate it. I gave it like a 5 out of 10. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. Because I remember we had a debate about feminism and whether or not this movie was right, and I said it's no more wrong than Twilight was, but Twilight's not the worst movie of all time.
It's weird we keep having debates about feminism on this show.
It really is. It's like we agree on the topic of feminism, but somehow we always argue about it.
Well, it's like it makes sense we keep talking about diversity because that always comes up in movies, so it's relevant. But it's weird we keep talking about feminism.
Because Hollywood hasn't like done it right yet. Apparently, you're either like a really like an apparent too powerful character like in Star Wars, or you just make all the men idiots like in Ghostbusters. So like they haven't found that happy medium. Actually, 10 Cloverfield Lane was pretty sick. So yeah, there you go. That's your happy medium of a female character. There you go. Yeah.
Alicia Malone. Sorry to take us on a side thing, but Alicia Malone, friend of the show, was on a couple of episodes ago. She had this whole thing about the difference between men and women getting paid in movies and all that. And this was sort of based off, like, I did a little bit of research. This is fascinating, actually. Let's say Snow White and the Huntsman, the sequel to the first one. No. What was the sequel?
What do you want about? The Snow White and the Huntsman?
Yeah,
you mean the Huntsman Winter's War?
That's it.
The Huntsman,
that's the one,
yeah. Okay.
I heard that...
I love how that fell apart so quickly. The Husband's Winter.
That's right.
Sorry, keep going.
Well, in that, it turns out, because, you know, that's Charlize Theron and Chris Hemsworth. Yeah. Chris Hemsworth in that got $10 million for the sequel, right? Charlize Theron got $5 million for the sequel. But then she realized, she was like, wait a minute, what the hell? And she went in and she negotiated and she got $10 million for it, which is fair. Yeah. Because, like, think about it. Like, you think about it, it's like, of course, like, they're the two big names of that movie. She's arguably a bigger name. So you're like, why is she... This is
different than a Jennifer Lawrence in American Hustle, where she complained that she didn't get paid enough as much as her male co-stars, when in reality they were in the movie much longer and were much more established actors. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah. But I did a bit of research like on that and a few different things, and I was like, oh, I wonder why this is, because it's like, is it just because, like, basically the answer is because Hollywood's a business, and if they know you're likely to take a lower sum than anyone else, then of course they're going to offer you. If they know you're going to take $5 million, they'll offer you $5 million. And it's just because they're businessmen. They're not going to give you an extra $5 million if they don't have to. And just women in general tend to not negotiate as hard.
Careful.
No, this was like, because I read this in an article. It just said women just have a tendency, they don't negotiate as hard as men do. And like the producers and all that, they know that. So they usually offer them less because they know they're more likely to go for less. Then you don't have to pay them. That's what business is all about.
That's a little dodgy. That's a little dodgy. I don't know about you. Yeah. That makes me a little uncomfortable to be like, oh, we know women are going to be nicer people. Let's just pay them less.
You got to do what Charlize Theron did. Once she found out that she was getting $5 million and Chris Hemsworth was getting $10 million, she fired her agent, who's supposed to negotiate those things, and got a better agent who got her $10 million. So that's the moral of the story. Get a good agent who's going to get you the proper price.
Listen, if any agent out there wants to get me $5 million, I'll take the $5 million. I hear people get paid, like, if you're like the lead in a big blockbuster movie, but you're an unknown, apparently you get like $300,000, which I'm completely 100% down for. If anyone wants to pay me $300,000, please let me know. I have no problem. Everyone else gets paid $10 million. Give me $300,000. I'll be okay. I promise. Okay, so the 50 Shades Darker trailer, Bandit. What'd you think?
So, I guess we went off on a tangent because it's only 50 Shades Darker. Who cares? It looks pretty stupid. I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think?
It really does. It looks like, oddly enough, funny, because as we know, the author of 50 Shades of Grey, E.L. James, wrote the book on her BlackBerry as Twilight fan fiction, and then she just kind of adapted it into 50 Shades of Grey. So of course it makes sense that in this trailer, Anastasia Steele, God, that name's so stupid. Anastasia Steele is seeing visions of people warning them about Christian, because in the sequel to Twilight, New Moon, which I know I know the plot of this. I've seen all 5 of those. Oh boy, or all 4. I don't know how many there are. In the second Twilight book, and I presume the second movie, Bella sees visions of Edward. So it's weird, the parallels are still happening in the sequel to 50 Shades. But that's like my one level of insight into this. It looks trash. It's probably going to be trash. They don't have the same talented director that they originally had. Because say what you want about that first movie, it looks great and it's shot really well. I can't really speak much about this one. I don't know.
The only thing I'm interested in is because, like, obviously, like you said, it's Twilight, ripping off Twilight. So this billionaire, whatever he is, Grey or whatever his name is. So if he's supposed to be the vampire, because he's got this BDSM, fetish, what fetish is the werewolf ripoff going to have?
I think they already had the werewolf guy in the first one.
What's his weird sexual fetish? What's the werewolf fetish?
He's a furry. Yeah, that's the plot. He's a real furry. He's really
would
into
have
animals.
to be, right? What else could it be?
Yeah, I mean that's what I would do. But like, it's weird because Bandit. Here's what I'm gonna say to you: if we're doing the prequels, then we have to see 50 Shades Darker.
No.
I know you're not. Yes,
no,
absolutely. If we're doing the prequels, we will go see 50 Shades Darker. I got you. We'll come back and talk.
All right, we don't have to do the prequels then.
No. We're gonna do the prequels because it's Star Wars. We gotta talk about all the Star Wars stuff.
We could do the Star Wars Holiday Special instead.
Oh, Bandit, please. I can't do that. Bandit, better men have tried and failed. I can't. No way. Absolutely not.
You're already making me watch all the Harry Potter movies. Why do you?
Harry Potter's good.
Why are you making me watch a Twilight ripoff that?
Because Harry Potter's good.
Cancer. Cinematic syphilis.
I said syphilis.
Why do I have to watch it?
You're like this old grumpy grandpa, like sitting like I don't want to go. I don't want to see a movie.
Get off my lawn.
You're sitting there with your cat, and you're like, I don't want to go. Like Mad Max is on for the 87th time. Yeah, Furiosa. Yeah. All right, well that's 50 Shades Darker. Tell you what, I can't. I'll see it and I'll talk about it on the show. Speaking of movies that we saw, we had some homework.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment.
Your homework is to listen to some real music, get inspired.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Down with homework?
All right, guys, this is the homework section of the show in case you talk about films we were either saw on our own or were assigned to see. Bandit, what did you see?
I saw Kubo on the 2 Strings.
Yeah, you did.
And, I didn't really think it was all that great.
I thought so. I won't. I have a sniper that'll do that for me. But, no,
I mentioned in the review on my channel that I said whenever there's a movie that comes out and all the reviews and everyone's saying it's fantastic, there's always one person who's just a Grinch. And that's me. I'm just the Grinch.
You're the guy that made Toy Story 3 have a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes instead of 100%. You're that one guy that made the average go down. You're the guy that fails the test in class and makes the entire class average go down. Yeah. You're the guy. Like, everyone got an A, but he got an F, so it went down to a C. Yeah. No, I mean, it's fine. Listen, I'll get to the. I always say all film is subjective, but you're wrong. But what is it about you that you just didn't enjoy? Tell you what, we'll go full spoilers because it's been out for a while now. Spoiler for Kubo and the 2 Strings. What'd you think, Bandit? You can break it down now here on the show.
I didn't find the characters, I wasn't really invested in the characters at all. Okay. I didn't find the comic really funny. I didn't find Charlize Theron as a monkey lovable. Didn't really care about the main character's past. Yeah, the story just wasn't interesting. Yeah, I just wasn't really that invested. It looked good.
And see, I remember You said, oh yes, but you did make that comment in the review, which like everyone else was agreeing with. But I just kind of got offended by it, or you're just like, I was triggered, if you will, when you were like, yeah, I guess people only really like it because it looks good. I'm like, that's not true. You know how I feel about movies that have no character to it. So it's like, I guess because you said you like you like the relationship of Kubo and the monkey in the first third because of how they were kind of playing it kind of deadpan, but the character kind of grew as the movie went along, which you did not appreciate. I kind of thought the exact opposite. I wasn't enjoying the deadpan delivery of the monkey in the first third, but as things were revealed and as we realized who the monkey really is and who the beetle really is, and I guess we're in spoilers so we can say that, once it's revealed that it's Kubo's parents, I don't know why, like apparently everyone else in the theater that I saw it with realized that like 20 minutes in or whatever. I didn't realize till the very end.
Yeah,
that's when they finally said it.
I didn't like that either. I didn't like that either.
Really enjoyed it. I was so swept into the story, and the visuals definitely helped for sure. But I think that's really only step one into making a good movie, is making it look good. You got to tell a good story, but I think it really did. I really quite enjoyed the ending and how they handled the villain, because it could have easily just been, your generic villain that gets killed at the end. But I think the way they handled the villain was so different and almost a very mature way to handle your bad guy for a kids movie. Most kids movies, the villain just gets destroyed or gets locked away in prison. But this one, the bad guy gets his memories taken away, and then he gets told that he's a really good person, so he turns into this really nice. That's a really touching and I think effective way to turn your villain into a different character. I think that's really ballsy for a movie like that to do. That really that was one where I just kind of got choked up. I was like, oh, what a good thing for a movie to do. But whatever, you didn't feel that way. That's fine.
I mean, it's a good moral. I guess the moral of the story is don't be a jerk.
I mean, I guess, but that's a moral of every. Great. No, well, I think the moral is I think it's kind of like an embracing the past, respect the future kind of thing. But
really,
yeah. Well, I think the talk about how they weren't a fan of what man was doing with their world, and they were imperfections, and how the past and the gods are what makes the world great. And it's like, embrace the past and remember what your past is, but be able to move on from the past and embrace what your future is going to be. But
yeah, well, it's got that Hercules thing where it's like, do you live with humans or are you a god? But the difference is, like with Hercules, that whole story is about where do you belong, finding your place in life. Where this wasn't really about that. It was just kind of like, okay, we got magic stuff, I guess. And then he just kind of decides, okay, I'm not gonna go be a god on Mount Olympus or whatever. And it's like, okay, you want to stay in a village?
Not to be a god who just realized that, because he realized that the gods looked at humans like they were, but he grew up as a human, so he grew up as he saw how enduring humans can be. But listen, we clearly got two different experiences out of this movie. I quite enjoyed it, which is weird because usually when a movie's really hyped up and everyone says it's great, like it's fine, like your Jungle Books or your Deadpools. But it's you're on the opposite end of the spectrum here.
It's it wasn't bad.
It's weird. Anyway,
I'm just not sure why it's getting such overwhelming praise. I'm like, it was good, but why is everyone carrying on? Like,
I just told you why I loved it. So maybe it's one of those films it's different. It's kind of different for everybody. Everyone kind of either loves it or does not for their own individualistic reasons. Which is really odd. I'm interested for you to go back and watch some of Leica's other work, because I feel like if this is Leica's best, I'm interested in how you look at the other stuff they do. Have you seen Coraline?
Nope.
You should probably watch Coraline then. Make that your homework for next week. Watch Coraline. I want to see how you. I want to see how you take a look at that. I think you might appreciate that.
Does it also have characters that are kind of deadpan, just sort of walking to one place and then meeting someone, then walking to another place, then meeting someone, then walking to another place, and meeting someone?
Kinda.
And then it kind of wraps up.
Kinda.
Yeah, because that's pretty much Kubo on the Two Strings,
On a basic level, yes, it's kind of like that. But it's not the flour in the cake that makes it a cake. Yeah. It's the stuff you put around it.
Again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just there's just nothing special about that I think merits all this praise that it seems to be getting.
I think.
And I stand by what I said in the review. If this was a 2D animation, I think people would not really pay much attention to this.
I disagree, because I feel like if it was a 2D animation, people would respect the fact that people were making a 2D animated film, because 2D animated films are so weird these days.
Just like
I know exactly what you mean.
Animation.
Yes, which and I also don't agree with that either. I think people are finding enjoyment out of this not because of the style of the artwork. I mean, the artwork definitely helps, but I think, like you said, it only gets you so far of how good a movie looks. Zack Snyder. I think that people were clearly finding something. I think people were clearly finding something else underneath all the beauty of the film, and I think sometimes people just don't find that, and that's fine. Some people are just blind, Bandit. Anyway, so maybe the gods took your eyes, Bandit. Anyways, I saw The Social Network, and I know I'm not trying to make it a big deal, like, I saw The Social Network. I mean, I've seen it before, but it's been like 5 years. I watched it once when it came out on DVD, because I never got around to seeing it for Oscar time back when I was 11 years old. And I saw it like 5 years ago, and I rewatched it today, and my God, what a fantastic film. It's intriguing to me because it was written by the same guy who wrote Steve Jobs. It was written by Aaron Sorkin, and then done by the same guy who did Gone Girl, David Fincher. That was just their most recent films. They've done other work, but I was interested to see just how despicable and horrible a person Mark Zuckerberg apparently is. It's really interesting to see just how bad things went for some people in this film. It's really good because it all just kind of falls apart so quickly. But it's and the dialogue. I mean, this is the way the movie opens, talking about clubs, and it's very, very good film. Anyways, what do you think about you, Bandit?
Yeah, I love Social Network.
Yeah, it's really like it's one of those movies that it's like, you haven't seen it, oh, you need to watch Social Network. It's one of those movies where I think everyone kind of needs to see it just to get their thoughts on it. And it's weird because it's like, oh, the Facebook movie. It's like, it's so much more than Facebook though, because you know, everyone looks at Facebook now and they realize just how big of a corporation, how big of a thing it's become, and to realize it was started by essentially. It was funded by one guy and created by another, essentially, and it's just it's insane. I had the story behind it. I'm not sure how much of it is true, but in terms of entertainment and making a movie, it's spectacular. That's just, I wanted to briefly touch on this.
Whose side are you on? Are you on Mark Zuckerberg's side or against him? Do you reckon he stole it, or do you reckon he just took the idea and did better things with it? Because I'm kind of on Mark Zuckerberg's side.
He definitely didn't steal it. He didn't steal it in the fact of how, because he didn't create a thing called Harvard Company or whatever, and then do their idea. He took the idea of having a social networking site be more than just sex and dating, and applied it using his own ideals and using the money of his best friend, who he clearly. And I think I'm against him in the fact of, like, I'm with him in the Winklevoss case. I'm against him in the Eduardo case, because there's no way Eduardo deserved that kind of treatment. And like, because like that's like his own, like you said, it was his only friend. But that scene when he realizes that he's been cut out of the thing completely, just. That's a great scene, man. It's like and how much it was yours diluted down to 0.03%. I was like, damn! It's like he got $19,000, which is what he spent. He didn't even make a profit. He made zero money off of Facebook. That's insane.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
That was and what was it, Sean Parker, like the guy, the Napster guy, Justin Timberlake, he got like all this money, and all he really did was get them to people. It's like, what did you even do?
I agree, but like, poor old Eduardo. It's like, I agree, like, it was brutal the way he got cut out and the way he earned no money out of it, but I'm kind of like, I kind of understand why Mark Zuckerberg cut him out, because like, he never really got with the program of what they were actually building. But the difference is, like, Justin Timberlake, he got it from the beginning of what they were trying to do. So like, I understand why Zuckerberg sort of cut him out, but cutting him out that brutally was probably not warranted.
well, you watch the film and
maybe
you
just
understand
find a way to quietly set him aside. Would have been better.
Well, he did, but that's the best part. He did set him aside. It's only the fact that Eduardo blew up that because everyone kind of knew about it, because he put in the contract that Eduardo would lose all his money, and he had him sign it thinking it was going to be something else. And so I think if you go back and watch the film, Mark never really tells Eduardo a lot about what's actually happening with Facebook, because Eduardo's in New York working on a trying to work on getting them paid. When in reality, Mark's getting them paid, stocks and stuff and millions of dollars with Sean Parker. And it's interesting how, like you said from the beginning, how Parker knew just exactly what Facebook was how big it was going to become because he had seen the revolution already. He had already broken down the music industry in so many different ways. He understood how big this could get. When in reality, Eduardo was just trying to get like chump change in the grand scheme of things. It was really well. I really enjoyed that film. I think it's amazing how much it holds up apparently, because you think a movie something about a social media site that's no one really uses a lot anymore. But man, it's in terms of the actual story, it's gonna become. I think it's gonna be a modern classic. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that film. Yeah.
And I heard that Mark Zuckerberg himself, he came out and said, "Oh, it's all fiction. It's all just made up." But apparently the one thing he did like about the movie is he said it's kind of like a call to arms for like young people to actually become entrepreneurs and build something for themselves. So from that perspective, he really likes it.
I'd like to imagine.
I agree. I think there should be more of that rather than you didn't build that, you took a bus to get there. That's my best Obama impression.
Now listen here, you didn't build that. You took a bus.
You have a company, you didn't build that. Took roads. The government built those roads. Actually, they didn't. Companies built the roads, but they were being paid by the government, so we pretty much made them.
And I killed Bin Laden. And that is what was in. Hashtag I'm with her. Yep. Yes.
But yeah, when it comes to the Winklevoss brothers, and they're like, he stole our idea to have Harvard.com. And they're like, we wanted to make the social network. It's like, no, you didn't. MySpace was already out there. So nobody came up with the idea of a social network. MySpace had already made it. So everyone was kind of ripping off that
in the
concept.
sense of their idea was, people were essentially only really using MySpace and stuff for dates at that point, and they wanted to make one which is what Facebook became, where you could check in on things and you could see people's life and you can see things from the courtesy of your computer screen. And I think that's the idea they told Mark, at which point Mark went dark on them and just developed Facebook, and then met Sean Parker and cut out Eduardo, and they each made 600, they became billionaires. It's insane. It's crazy. Yeah. It's a horrible story.
I like Facebook more than Twitter. Do you like Facebook more than Twitter? Twitter's confusing.
I think you might just be getting old. I'm kidding.
But their companies, Twitter's failing the company too.
Apparently.
They became popular because they brought all the celebrities onto the site,
Yeah. Here's my thing. I think, honestly, from my opinion, I think Instagram is the best social media outlet right now. Because Facebook, there's so much on Facebook right now that it can be, in many points, hard to both manage and navigate. And I think that's because Facebook does not translate to the mobile aspect of it well. And in a world where everyone's kind of always out and about and on their phone, I think Facebook is kind of failing in that aspect. I think that's kind of where Twitter succeeds more. But I think, in my opinion, Instagram is easily, I think, the best form of social media. Snapchat is, I think, far more personal than something like a Twitter or Instagram or a Facebook, because Snapchat is, a direct conversation to people via videos or pictures. But in terms of actual social media, Instagram, I think, is the best by far. But yeah, that's my opinion on social media. I don't use it as often as people I think I do, though. So yeah.
Cool, awesome.
Anyways, feature presentation?
Yeah.
I don't have a segue, so feature presentation. All right.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, Bandit, I need you to listen here. I need you to listen good. All right, I guarantee you this. I guarantee that. I guarantee I'll guarantee you this. I guarantee that. You hear me? You hear me? I guarantee you that. All right, guys, this is a feature presentation on
Why does he sound like Joe Pesci?
Why does he sound like Joe? Do I sound like Joe Pesci?
He's not the Italian gangster. He's the American gangster. Oh no, you didn't. That's what he says to Russell Crowe in that.
Oh man. Okay, so this is our talk on Denzel Washington in preparation for Magnificent Seven, which opens up next week here in the States, at least. Bandit. General thoughts on Denzel Washington as an actor. Why don't you go ahead and go first?
Denzel Washington. You know what? Love Denzel. There's certain actors where if you see their name attached to a movie, even if the movie is not as well known, you know there's going to be a certain quality of that movie.
Yeah.
In the same kind of way that often you can get that with directors, I think Denzel's one of those actors. If you see his name connected to a movie, it's going to be a quality movie. And it's weird because he's got such, like, there's such prestige around his name now. But when we were preparing for this episode, we were looking at the different movies we've done. He hasn't really ever had any blockbusters, has he?
Well, I think he's gone like the, because people think of someone like a Brad Pitt or George Clooney as a genuine movie star, but when you realize World War Z is Brad Pitt's highest grossing movie, and that barely broke $500 million worldwide. So like some of the world's biggest movie stars have never had movies that broke $1 billion. Not everyone is a Tom Cruise. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, his biggest was probably either Training Day or American Gangster. Those were
in terms of gross.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
I'll look it up while we're talking about them.
Yeah. But there's a lot of movies he's done that I really like, and I'm really looking forward to Magnificent Seven because I love westerns, and I also love Denzel Washington. And Training Day is one of my favorite movies.
Buzz, for all the buzz that I've been hearing about it, the reaction has been rather mixed. I'll say it's sitting at about a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes. Actually, 61% on Rotten Tomatoes at this point, with about 40 reviews out there. So it's apparently, from what I've heard, it's a very quote unquote fun movie. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm interested to see where we lie next week after we all see it. Yeah.
Well, with some of the reviews of it that I've seen that have come out, like one of the negatives is they say, it's a little bit cheesy at points, and I'm like, well, it's a western.
So
of course,
I don't know if that's going to be I don't know if that's necessarily an excuse for cheesiness, because if a movie's cheesy, it's cheesy. I think you can have a good western; it doesn't have to be cheesy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, westerns can have it. That
kind of go with the genre, doesn't it? Sort of in a way that kind of things being a bit silly goes with the comic book movie. Sort of being cheesy kind of goes with the western in a way.
If you think about it, a comic movie can be silly, but The Dark Knight is not inherently a silly film. Civil War is not inherently a very silly film. I think, a western doesn't necessarily.
It kind of is when you consider it's grown men in costumes running around. Then it kind of does seem a bit silly.
It's silly in the sense of that maybe billionaire Bruce Wayne wouldn't become a superhero, because who wouldn't figure out that this multi-million-dollar tank running around that can easily be blown up and replaced? This really cool motorcycle thing with this guy that has billions of dollars worth of armor.
It's silly in the sense that if that existed in real life, you'd think those people were kind of crazy. In the same kind of way, like in the real Wild West, if people acted the way they acted in movies, everyone would be like, yeah, this guy's ridiculous, and he'd get shot down within a second.
Well, how about that?
So I guess it's kind of...
Have you ever seen The Pelican Brief?
Huh?
Have you seen the movie The Pelican Brief? Apparently that's his highest grossing movie when adjusted for inflation.
Oh, is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, apparently that's his highest...
That's the one.
When adjusted for inflation, apparently. If we're going by domestic gross, according to Box Office Mojo, it's The Equalizer, and it barely broke $100 million in the U.S.
Wow, isn't that weird?
Yeah, it really is. It's a little odd, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm still looking forward to Magnificent Seven because it's got Denzel and Ethan Hawke in it, and they were both in Training Day. So this is kind of like a reunion for them. This is kind of like Training Day 2.0 in the Wild West.
Oh, wait, I'm wrong. Wait, I'm wrong. No, it is The Pelican Brief. $270 million, adjusted for inflation. Yeah, no, never mind. And then it's Remember the Titans. Have you seen Remember the Titans?
Yeah, I watched that. Yeah,
that's a good movie. Yeah, but yeah, Denzel Washington as an actor, growing up in a black household, there are certain names you just kind of know because either your parents talk about it, your grandparents talk about them, and there are just certain movies that are kind of always on. Growing up for me, whether it be, usually it was either a Tyler Perry movie or a Denzel Washington film. Like my dad one of my dad's favorite movies is Training Day. So while I have never sat down to watch the film itself in its entirety, I think I've seen the entire film when broken up into bits and pieces because my dad just used to always have it on.
Yeah.
It's like his top 3 favorite films are like Training Day, Grease, and The Incredibles.
I
So
love Training Day. Training Day
Yeah.
is so cool. That's probably one of my favorites. That's like, because I think he got an Oscar or something for that, didn't he?
Yeah, he got, which essentially apparently he earned it from his other film. So yeah, they gave it to him for Training Day. Yeah.
But I mean, that's great because like he was one of those guys where he was always the good guy. He was always the cop or the detective, and he's a cop in this one.
Yeah.
But that's one of the rare times where like he played a villain and he played that villain so
Jake!
well. It's
Jake!
like King Kong ain't got nothing on me. I'm the police.
I'm the police. We can't say the line, can we? Darn.
Liquor license? Yeah, it's good. I love that movie. Yeah.
My favorite quote from that movie is
like,
something I can't say. So there you go.
Well, you can if you want. I could beep it out.
When they're sitting in the car and they have that conversation, and it's just like my N-word. That's my favorite quote in the movie. I don't know why. I love that. I love that. I just love the way he says it. Oh man.
Well, I love that because it's like he plays that villain and he plays it so well. And I'm sure we'll keep coming back to Training Day because it's such a great movie. Yeah. But I think like when I was watching it, it's like, you know, when Will Smith, he's like, oh, I'm going to be in Suicide Squad and I'm finally going to play a villain. And it's like, well, Will Smith, watch Training Day. That's how you play a villain.
Well, that's my thing, right?
Suicide
That's
Squad.
how you make a villain in a movie like likable in the sense that you want to keep watching them on screen because you essentially follow Jake, and it's Alonzo, isn't it? The main character in Training Day, the Denzel Washington Training Day. Alonzo. You're following those two, and Denzel's in it, and it just You want to keep watching him on screen even though he's such a despicable person, you know what I'm saying? And so I think whenever you watch a movie of like, it's Fast and Furious, we're the bad guys just doing bad guy stuff that happen to be good guys. I'm like, no. You're good guys because to watch a movie about a legitimate bad guy, you're right, is exactly what Training Day is. But
and I think the reason that movie works so well is because throughout the movie, like, in case anyone doesn't know, it's all set in one day. Ethan Hawke is sort of the rookie cop who's trying to get on this special sort of narcotics team, and Denzel Washington's the guy who sort of runs it. So he has one day where he's sort of going to ride with Denzel Washington and, you know, basically prove that he's got what it takes to get in this special division, which is going to be a big step up in his career and all that sort of stuff. But I think the reason it works so well is because Denzel, he's a corrupt cop, he's a bad guy, and the whole sort of day is he's weaving this, there's this bigger story going on, and he's basically setting up Ethan Hawke throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
And I think the reason he works so good as the villain is because there's a number of times throughout that movie where, like, either Denzel will say to Ethan Hawke or other characters will say to Denzel about Ethan Hawke, where like, oh, you were just like him. You know, you were just like him when you were a rookie. You had the same stupid look, wanting to save the world. And Denzel's like, oh, yeah, that lasted about a week. And there's a couple moments where there's one of my favorite scenes, I think, is after they shoot a guy and then cover it up. And Denzel and Ethan kind of have this conversation. And Ethan Hawke's kind of trapped where he's kind of forced that he has to go along with his cover-up. But every fiber of his being hates it because he's not a crooked cop. And Denzel's like sort of slowly trying to sort of talk him through it and sort of corrupt him, basically. And it's a great scene where they're just sitting in the car talking. And, it's a number of times where Denzel and that is like, you know, oh, you sound just like me. And I think that's why you buy him as the villain, because you're like, what happened to you, man? How did you get this bad? You know? Yeah,
well, I think you're watching this guy and you're watching... Yeah, it's a sense of relatability to where you're like, oh, this is kind of the worst. This is, you know, we're Ethan Hawke, you know, we're the eyes in character, and you know, we're seeing what essentially can be the worst of us, if that makes any sense. Yeah, and that's if you don't mind me changing the subject real quick. He's in this movie, Denzel Washington. If we're talking about him playing the villain, kind of, he's in this movie called Safe House with Ryan Reynolds that came out a couple years ago. And it's really, really good, and I don't think it gets enough love. I think it might have been Tony Scott that did. I can't remember. If you know what I'm talking about, are you still there, Bandit?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, because last week just kept dying on me. But yeah, it's this movie where I think it's set in South Africa, and Ryan Reynolds just plays like this kind of pencil pusher that constantly sits at the safe house, and the safe house for I think it's the CIA, and nothing really ever happens there. He's just kind of there just to, kind of keep essentially house sit the safe house, if you will. And he has his girlfriend. He kind of wants to have a better life for everybody. And then one day they bring in this, most wanted criminal played by Denzel Washington, and it's kind of what happens and what gets unraveled about the CIA. Vera Farmiga from The Conjuring and Up in the Air is in it. She plays one of the CIA agent. It might have been the FBI, I can't remember, but either way, it's a government agency in the U.S. It's very good, and I think that was the first time I'm like, hey, Ryan Reynolds is really good in movies. I think that was the first time. I think the first time I saw him, I was like, he's actually good in movies.
Hey, what do you think Ryan Reynolds got this far from his superior acting method?
Well,
whoever he says that is Deadpool.
Yeah, and Deadpool, he's like, for the superior acting method. Yeah, I think that was the first time I saw Ryan Reynolds, and I actually really enjoyed him in something because I hadn't seen Buried at that point. But Buried is another good movie if you haven't seen that. But my point is, Denzel plays a villain in that. But I think, as opposed to Training Day, where he's just all bad, Denzel in that movie is more of a misguided hero than anything, and I really enjoy him. And I think you would like that movie, Safe House, with him and Ryan Reynolds. I think you'd really appreciate it. It's an action movie too, so yeah.
I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, because again, if Denzel's in it,
exactly,
and
like you said, it's one of those actors where I feel like everyone's seen a Denzel movie, but because he's so well known, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. People just kind of know who Denzel Washington is. I think it's because he's been around long enough to be kind of in everyone's head, and he always puts out good movies. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like, again, going back to Training Day. Sorry, everyone, I love that movie so much. I'm going to keep going.
Right, we'll keep jumping around here. We got a lot to talk about.
There's a great, like, everyone should check out Training Day. I reckon it should be on the must-watch list. There's also a really awesome scene where he just absolutely beats the tar out of Ethan Hawke.
That's right.
And it's brutal, but it's gloriously brutal.
I just
he like grabs him and like throws him and like there's a bit where he like shoves his face through like a wind chime.
Oh yeah,
it's like a wind chime and he just grabs him and like shoves him into it. And he's like, ding, ding, ding.
I gotta watch this movie again, man. I might put that as my homework for next week. I just keep going back to that.
With a chair at one point, and he's like, ah.
He's like the Black Jason Bourne. He just finds a pen and just starts. Oh man, I just keep going back to the ending of that movie because like it's so funny / kind of heartbreaking, funny, like crazy enough, and yet kind of enduring as well. And since with full spoilers, but like you said, go and watch Train. It's a good movie. When you realize what's Ethan Hawke's name? Jake. When Jake realizes like this isn't for me, he's finally able to get away, and he's like surrounded. And he's just like, oh, pardon my French. He's like, oh, y'all motherfuckers. I love this like the look on his face when you realize he's just been had. He's like, all right. And I just like he's trying to like do like this giant spiel. Okay, he's just like, Jake, come on, man, I'm just playing. Jake. Like he realizes he's getting in like more and more trouble, and then like Jake's just gone. You just hear like the car take off. Oh, there's
the bit where he's like, you shot me in the ass. So many great lines there.
Oh, that's right. He's like, oh, shut me. I forgot that happened. Yeah, he definitely deserved that.
There's a bit in the movie where Denzel must have had so much fun watching that, but like there's a bit in that where Ethan Hawke breaks character for a moment, and it's like in the scene where there's a scene where he basically just manipulates him into like smoking crack in the car. Literally puts a gun to his head and he's like, if I was a dealer, you'd be dead by now. You turn up any drugs on the street, you're done. Get out of here, rookie. So he's like, all right, fine, I'll smoke it. So he smokes the crack, and there's this bit, like after he's done, and Denzel's like, finish it, yeah. And then he goes to hand it back, and Denzel does this laugh. He does this laugh where he's like, like that.
That's right.
And there's this bit you can kind of see Ethan Hawke, he like breaks character for a bit. And in the commentary, he said there was a lot of moments like that where Denzel would just improvise stuff, and Ethan Hawke's like trying not to laugh.
Oh, that brings back to Wolf of Wall Street, but like scene with Matthew McConaughey, and then like pretty much that whole scene was kind of improvised, and it's just you can just keep seeing Leo's face, him like looking off camera at Martin Scorsese, and Martin Scorsese was like, just keep going. I love improvisation in film.
Well, there's again, because I watched that movie with the director's commentary as well, so that's how I know these little bits. But earlier in the movie, there's when they first meet, the scene where they first meet. And there's this bit where Denzel, Ethan Hawke's doing this scene where he's telling him this thing he had experienced, telling him a story, because he says, tell me a story about something you did. And in the middle of it, Denzel's like, boom! And he's like, what? He's like, ha, you never know, that's the point. But, that was improv. So Ethan Hawke's, he's like, what? Because he interrupts him to say boom. But then that carried over for the rest of the movie. All the other actors had moments where they were like, boom! So it was like an improv bit that became a narrative throughout the story.
That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, he's such a talented guy, Denzel Washington, and he's not, I mean, because you look at some of his films and you're like, oh, he's not diverse because he kind of always acts the same in certain films. But I think it's the nuances that are different. Because in a film have you seen The Great Debaters? I can't remember if you keep saying that you've seen it or not.
No, I wasn't able to find it.
Okay. See, that The Great Debaters is it's a fantastic film, and I think it's a film, funny enough, that I was forced to watch in school because I took a debate course at my freshman year of high school, and so we were forced to watch The Great Debate. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Because I heard a click and your audio cut out. I'm sorry, I'm freaking out here. Yeah, but The Great Debaters, it's a film that he directed actually, and he stars in, and it's him. I think it's the 1920s or 30s. It's early 20th century, and it's him and a few other black students becoming a national debate team and going up against people like Harvard, and it's a very good and it's a very good film. And I think if you know, not even if you know the true story, but if you know, because it is based on a true story, but I think if you know anything about movie making and how feel good movies like this typically go, you can kind of see where things are going to go. But I think as a performer and as a director, Denzel Washington does a very good job in that film. And going back to him as an actor, he always has some nuances. For example, he plays a professor in that film. He plays the debate coach, if you will. And he always has this kind of nuance to him, and he has this sense of power, and he always knows what's going to happen next in the room. He always has that kind of sense to him. Yet in every single one of his movies, he does other things that make him seem different from the character he's already played. Like the character in The Equalizer feels different from him in The Great Debaters or him in Training Day. It's just, and I think it's him as an actor that really just kind of gravitates me towards him as an actor. But that's my spiel. But I think you should watch The Great Debaters. It's a good movie. That's two movies.
I might check it out because I actually used to be on a debating team.
That does not surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. That explains a lot, actually.
I actually coached it as well for a while.
Oh, wow. You were the coach of a debate team.
Yes, everyone, I was a nerd. No doubt about it.
Oh, I can just imagine you like 18-year-old bandit just, covered in zits and wearing a Mad Max shirt and be like, no, you're wrong, and here's why. Oh, man. Mad Max is the best movie of all time, and you all know it.
I remember my debate team, I told them, I was like, there was one debate that they were really struggling with, because I think this was in the 90s, but I think the topic was terrorism is justified. So it was before Al-Qaeda and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And of course they were having trouble trying to find arguments to try to argue that terrorism is justified. And I said, look, when you don't have any arguments, just be rude and insistent. Because normally it works.
Yeah.
If nothing else, just do that. And they did, and they won.
This reminds me. I was also on the debate team in my middle school days, my junior high. It was my second year of junior high, and we had to debate cell phones in school. And this one girl was like, you can tell she thought she was going to win the debate, and because she was like, you don't need cell phone in school because such and such and such and such and this and this and distraction and all this. And she was making great points, and she was right. Obviously, I agreed with her. But then I went up to her, and I went up to the podium. I said, "You're walking in the woods. You're walking in the woods on your way home, and suddenly you hear a twig snap. You look behind you, there's a man running after you. You could call 911, but oh wait, you don't have a phone. Bam, you've been raped." And then I walked away from the podium, and everyone just went, "Oh!" And then we won the debate, like that. But we won, and it was so great. And I remember, I love debate. Debates are so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. Anyways.
So yeah, I'll definitely check out Denzel, the Great Debaters. Yeah. Yes. I think that's honestly that's better than Safe House, to be honest with you. So I think you'll appreciate that more. Forrest Whitaker's in it as well. I was going to watch Safe House, but I saw it on Netflix, but I didn't have the time. But
that's okay.
But I'll say, like, another movie where Denzel plays the villain is American Gangster, based off true story, Ridley Scott movie.
See, I haven't seen this one, so you're gonna have to explain this to me.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I wouldn't say his performance is that great. It just kind of feels... I'm sorry to say, but this one actually kind of does feel phoned in. Maybe it's because...
it's Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott. It is Ridley Scott. But maybe it's because, like, you know, when you see him in Training Day as a villain, and you're like, well, now he's playing this irredeemable gangster, so he's going to be fantastic as a villain again. But the guy he's playing, Frank Lucas, is very different kind of villain than, you know, the fictional one he played in Training Day. So it's very different. But it's still an interesting movie. It's set in the 80s or the 70s, I think it was, during the sort of whole heroin crack sort of epidemic of that time period. But Frank Lucas, he was like the first black gangster that created like a crime empire that actually became bigger than the mafia. Because up until that point, everyone was like, oh, well, the Italian mafia controls everything. So Russell Crowe's character, who's investigating it, he's constantly running into that roadblock because nobody believes that a black guy could actually be above the mafia, and that the mafia is taking... Yeah, because basically what it was is it was during the Vietnam War, and Frank Lucas, the guy, sort of the crime lord of the ghetto that he worked for, died of a heart attack, so he was kind of left sort of on his own, and he decided that he was going to basically cut out the middleman. Because there's this whole thing of like businesses, you know, they cut out the middleman and all that, and that's how they save costs. And he's like, well, I'm going to do that. So the way where he was getting his heroin was from the Vietnam War was going on, but corrupt soldiers were smuggling drugs from like opium and that from Southeast Asia into America on military planes. This is all true. This all happened. And the way Frank Lucas cut out the middleman is he would personally, the head of this massive crime organization would personally fly to Southeast Asia, to Vietnam, in this war zone, and personally go into the jungle to meet the guys who were actually making the stuff, collect it, and head home with it. Like no other mafia boss would do that. But because he did that, he could completely cut out the middleman and the whole distribution thing, which meant he could sell drugs. I'm not sure if it was heroin or crack or whatever it is. I don't really know much about drugs. But he could sell it, stuff that was twice as good for half as much. So, of course, all the junkies would go to him and his guys, and he put everyone else out of business. So all the other, like the mafia, they all hated him. And he actually, he called his drug Blue Magic. And I actually think the blue crystal meth in
Breaking Bad
was a reference to Blue Magic, And so it's all about that, about how this guy sort of changed it all, and how Russell Crowe caught him, and Denzel sort of like helps with the investigation, and it's a really good movie. And Idris Elba's in it. And, Denzel Washington shoots him between the eyes.
I've seen that scene. Yeah.
What you gonna do, Frank? You gonna shoot me right here in front of everybody? Come on! Right in the middle of the street. Great scene.
Oh man, that's power. Yeah. Is Frank Lucas alive still? Did they kill him, or is he just like rotting in jail for like 80,000 years?
I think he's still alive now. Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least he was at the time the movie was made.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. But it's an interesting movie because it's like there's this great bit where like Frank Lucas, he goes to Vietnam and he meets the soldier who's sort of his contact, and he's like, well, no, I got to go to the farm where they are. And he's like, you want to go into the jungle? He's like, yeah, I'm already in the jungle. He's like, I'm from the jungle. He goes, I can get killed. He goes, I can get killed in New York, or I can get killed here just the same. He goes, it's no difference to me. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's true. I mean,
it's true.
Living his life, in the neighborhoods and stuff that he did. I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean, he's just as much in danger of getting shot by a rival crime family in America as he is in Southeast Asia. So he's like, so what? Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm going to check the movie out though, but I do like I might read up on that story. I might look into that story more. You said you saw Remember the Titans? Yes, I did. Okay, what'd you think? Because I look at that as whenever someone's like, "What's a great sports movie?" I go, "Oh, Remember the Titans." So what'd you think?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's a good.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say it's a good sports movie. It has the tropes of a sports movie. Things happen that, but at the same time, it does do things to where you're like, oh, I didn't think it was going to go that far. I think like people die, and you're just like, I didn't think people are going to die in this story. But overall, it is, I think, someone dies, don't they? They go to a funeral, don't they?
Oh, I can't remember. I remember a guy gets crippled.
Wait, never mind. I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking a completely different movie. No, wait, I'm thinking of Gridiron Gang. Never mind with The Rock. But I'm thinking anyways. Yeah. But my point is, it is still
paralyzed.
He does get crippled. Yeah, because I remember he's watching a football game at the end of the movie. Ain't no mountain high enough. Yeah, but I think whenever I think of a good feel good movie that you want to watch, I'm like, put on Remember the Titans. You're gonna feel good afterwards.
Do you want to give a brief breakdown of the story for anyone who hasn't seen it?
You can go on ahead. You saw it more recently than I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm normally not good at explaining these things. All right, it's Remember the Titans, Disney movie, football movie. Set during, I'm not sure the years, but it was just after the integration of the schools.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a football team, half black, half white. Denzel Washington's the black coach brought in. But they've kind of still got the old white coach as well.
Yeah.
He's not the coach. He's like the second, whatever they call it. So it's all about like how they learn to get along and all this and work as a team and all the rest of it. And it's got the fat guy from My Name is Earl. It's got him in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, surprisingly not that much football in it. It was more about sort of learning to get along and learning to work as a team than it was about the actual football. I thought it would be even, like 50-50, but it was, it really wasn't really about football at all, was it?
No, I mean, it's one of those movies where it's just like I said, it's just one of those feel good. And Denzel, once again, he really brings out. Whenever I think of Denzel Washington, I think of the coach and Remember the Titans. I think of whenever, because I guess I don't know why, but I always picture Denzel Washington as a teacher. And not necessarily like a teacher, like a school teacher, but like a teacher of he's always giving out some kind of wisdom because he just kind of has that authoritative voice about him where every time he speaks, you just feel like he's going to give you a lesson, but it doesn't feel like condescending. It feels like more endearing in a sense. So you think of Remember the Titans or The Great Debaters, or Flight, but that's a different kind of Denzel Washington movie.
Yeah,
but
you're right. Yeah. He does always kind of play that sort of fatherly role, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or that mentor type role. Yeah. He'd be a good Jedi, wouldn't he?
He'd be
a great
best Jedi. He'd be. You ever seen that? You've ever seen the show Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yep.
Did you finish it?
No.
Oh, you never finished it? How far did you get?
I think I watched like 6 episodes, loved them, but it just became too difficult to sort of find the show and watch it, sort of thing.
Oh, you gotta finish
it. Was really great. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite shows ever. It's the first show I caught from the start and got to the end of it. That's a great show. But anyways, without giving anything away, I guess
I was actually just watching the episodes on YouTube. Someone had sneakily uploaded them, but then they all got blocked, so I couldn't watch anymore.
I mean, I can send you a link to where you can find all of them, probably. I can give you a way.
Well, see, I know where it is, but back then I didn't know how to do that, so I couldn't watch any more of them.
Well, there's a character that we meet in the 3rd season that I think if they ever do movies about that franchise again, Denzel Washington, I think he'd do a really good job of playing that role. And it's someone that teaches Sokka stuff. That's all I can give away, I guess. Those of you who watch the show know what I'm talking about. Sokka's teacher. I think Denzel Washington would be a really good actor to play that guy. Have you seen Flight?
No.
Okay, so Flight is essentially Sully, but he actually did something wrong. In the fact that he was drunk when he landed the plane. It's this guy. He goes up in the air. The plane malfunctions, and he's a drunk captain, and he lands the plane drunk. But there's an investigation about it, and it's really about the kind of the breakdown of this man's life. I don't think it's based on a true story, but it's Robert Zemeckis that did it. And it's Denzel Washington's in it, Don Cheadle's in it, John Goodman's in it. It's an all-star cast kind of, and it's really the breakdown. I think that was kind of one of the first times I saw Denzel Washington in more of a degenerative role, not necessarily of like the villain or the a bad guy, but in the sense of that he's not the kind of charismatic, kind of out there, always has something smart to say kind of character. In this one, he's a bit more sullen and slouched over. He's really drunk most of the movie, and it's a very sad watch. But I think it's a very good one, and he's really good in that too. He's good in everything, apparently, except American Gangster. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed a couple people said that Sully is like Flight without the drunkenness.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, you saw Sully, didn't you? What'd you think?
Yeah. I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good old Clint Eastwood. He's good, isn't he? That guy's a national treasure.
Yes, he is definitely national. I do think it's worth. There is like, did you notice that there was only like one black person in the movie, like 2-3 black people? Did you notice how none of them spoke?
He's allowed to be racist. He's dirty Harry.
Whoa! Hold on. He's not allowed to be anything. It was just, okay, sure.
Yeah, but he's like 90 years old. He's from that generation.
So? Okay, sure.
See, I like Gran Torino because my uncle's like that. My uncle's exactly like the guy in Gran Torino.
This old Australian guy's just like,
yeah, well, he like
paints on my lawn. Yeah.
Well, he says like horribly racist stuff, like especially about Asians, but he's married to an Asian, so.
What? It's like you realize George Lucas married a black woman. I'm like, what'd you do about Jar Jar Binks? Like why would you do that? Like,
was he married to a black woman? Binks. I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently he is. I'm like, well, Jar Jar Binks, what are you doing? Yeah, so it's like whatever. But yeah. Flight is essentially.
Anyway, the point is, I think Clint Eastwood. I like him. Like he's got those old racist attitude, but there's no real hate in his heart. That's what I mean.
You think?
That's why I like Clint Eastwood.
You think? I think there's a lot of hate in his heart, most definitely. Otherwise, it wouldn't show in his movies.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
On.
He's just an old guy. Like, he might be like, hey, you're black, you probably can't swim. Or he might say something like that. But it doesn't mean he's going to be out burning a cross. He's just old.
You don't have to be burning a cross to be a racist, Bandit. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? You don't have to be part of the KKK.
He's from a different generation. You can't expect them to...
That's no excuse. That's
not
an excuse at all.
It is an excuse.
No, it's not. It's not an excuse to be a racist.
But he's Dirty Harry.
I didn't say he wasn't immensely talented, and he's a very good filmmaker. He's a very good actor. Doesn't mean he's still not a horribly racist person. I love $1 Million.
We should do a Clint Eastwood movie. That's great. Watch Dirty Harry. He just shoots every black man in the streets. It's great.
Was it 5 shots or 6? Yeah.
Punk.
Yeah. It's. I mean, Blondie. Yeah. I mean, son of a. But what was I saying? I'll say
Flight is like Sully, but if the pilot was drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's more to it than that in terms of the story. It definitely doesn't have the same kind of happy ending that Sully has in the sense of the actual true story. But I don't know. I really appreciated that Denzel took the time to do something different with Flight. Has he done something else? Because he did The Equalizer, another kind of film. Maybe Denzel just officially entered this age of, okay, I'm old now, so I can't just play the charismatic teacher. I now have to play the sad old guy, because that's essentially what he does in The Equalizer as well. Another movie that I think it's pretty good. It's from the same guy who did Training Day and he's doing Magnificent Seven. It's essentially it's Denzel Washington's Taken, if that makes any sense. And he sells it pretty well. He can sell playing an old badass pretty well.
I'd say Man on Fire is his Taken.
Oh,
now that's a brutal.
Oh man, Yeah, but I think with Man on Fire, he still has that youngish, quote unquote. He's still Denzel. You know, by the time because Equalizer's 10 years later, so you know he's bald. He's got the old man jowls. Does
he take on the cartel in the Equalizer like he does in Man on Fire?
No, I think he takes on. I think it's a prostitution ring. I know that for sure, and I know because like there's this bit where he hangs a guy with barbed wire. It's pretty intense. Yeah, it's pretty intense, and like it's because it's about this guy who he used to do. You know, he used to be a badass, and now he just kind of works at a super. Not like do you know what Lowe's is, or like a Home Depot, like a kind of like a utility store where you can buy like. Hardware and stuff that kind of place. He works at a place like that, and then I think he meets this young prostitute played by Hit Girl, Chloe Grace Moretz, and one day he beats up on some guys that were beating up on her, and that kind of sparks this whole ordeal where he has to get out all the old grinds and to go back to work, and it's really good. It's a solid action movie, and he's really good in it. But I think I'm interested to see if in Magnificent Seven he gets to be old Denzel again, or if he's just gonna be quiet but sullen badass Denzel now.
Well, it's great because in Magnificent Seven he's going to be the gunslinger who has to finally pick up his guns again, and he's already done that role plenty of times.
Yeah,
so he's had loads of practice, so he can now officially do it.
There's a great line in that trailer when he's talking to her. He's like, "So you seek revenge?" He's like, "I seek righteousness, but I'll take revenge." I'm like, oh, that's a great line. I don't know if that's in the original, but that's a great bit. I'm really excited for that movie. I really want to see Magnificent Seven. Here's something I can go on Tuesday. If not, I'll catch it Thursday night. Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. So you mentioned John Goodman was alongside Denzel in Flight.
Yes.
Another Denzel movie that has John Goodman in it, segue, is a really good one that's a little known one. It was from the 90s, kind of flew under the radar, but it's really good. It's called Fallen. I don't know if you've heard about it.
I have not.
But he's a detective in that. One of those special detectives that gets serial killers, goes after them. And this movie has like a supernatural edge to it, because the movie starts where the serial killer that he's caught is getting the gas chamber because he's killed so many people or whatever, and the serial killer starts wigging out and saying all this, speaking in some weird language, and Denzel's character is just completely unimpressed. Because it's funny, he's like talking to this like mass murdering psychopath, but Denzel plays it like kind of like, oh, I'm just a plumber and he's just a block toilet. You know, it's like
that's a good line.
Yeah, it's like you're about as intimidating to me as a block toilet. That's it. Where he's just not the slightest bit put off by it because it's just his job. You know, but I guess I can say, because it's not a spoiler, because it happens like early on in the movie. It's the premise of the whole movie. Is it turns out that this guy, this serial killer, is actually possessed by a demon called Azazel.
Snap.
And the demon can jump from person to person through like physical contact.
Oh man!
So this guy, like just before he's gassed, when they like strap his hand onto the thing, he sort of grabs the guard's hand and he's like, "I'll give you $20 if you can get me out of this." And then it sort of transfers into the guard, and then the guard heads out, and like, yeah. So it's about sort of Denzel, this cop who cannot be shook by any sort of serial killer out there, but then he has to come across not just a serial killer, but it's like a demonic serial killer.
That's a pretty good premise of like, it's this summer, Denzel versus the devil. I would pay money to see that. Yeah,
it's really great, and it's actually because he figures out a way to sort of trick this demon and sort of destroy him. And I won't spoil it because it's got a really good twist. It's got a couple of twists towards the end, but it's like in the early 90s, and definitely it's another one of those Denzel movies that flew under the radar. But you can see the reason Denzel picked it is because he read the script and he's like, "That's really good." So it's on Netflix, so people out there could check it out.
Does it have kind of like a Seven kind of tone of where just like things just kind of keep going wrong, or is it kind of more of an action 90s movie to it, or is it more of a thriller?
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a Seven sort of vibe to it, but without all the gore. There's not really that much gore in it.
All right, right.
Because it sort of starts that like sort of the original serial killer guy that Denzel caught. He had certain things he'd do. He'd like sing all the time. There's certain phrases he'd repeat, so that when the demon jumps into other people, you know, it'll start singing the same song or saying similar lines, and he'll be like, "What?" You know, because like it's just sort of messing with Denzel.
So is there kind of a point where he's not aware that the person next to him might actually be possessed by the demon, and then like kind of like in The Thing, when there's certain things don't seem right, and you realize, oh, that person was actually a demon or something. That's
there's a little bit of that, but he figures out about it pretty early in the movies, which is why I don't feel like it's a spoiler to say that's what the demon does.
Okay,
it happens pretty early.
That's the hook for me. Now I gotta check it out. Yeah,
and it's cool because like the demon can like jump into other people and take control of them, but then when it transfers into someone else, they can't remember what happened and stuff like that. So like it'll jump into a guy, and then will like attack Denzel. So Denzel has to shoot this guy, and then he has to like he looks suspicious to all the other cops because it's like he just shot this guy. You know, some innocent person on the street, seemingly. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really good. I don't want to say too much to spoil it, but it's definitely
okay. Well, I might make that my homework. I might. It's either that or Training Day, because Training Day is no longer on Netflix. So I might make. Well, I mean, it's not an American Netflix. I don't know how. Maybe it is in the Aussie land. But yes. That movie sounds really cool, and I want to go check it out.
And John
that's all the
Goodman,
notes I have.
John Goodman in it.
John Goodman's in it. Yeah,
he's his partner in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is he kind of like the supportive best friend? Yeah, I think I know where this goes. Then I've seen movies, especially if it's a black lead and a supportive white friend. Oh yeah. I know how that goes. So, do you have any further thoughts on Denzel Washington as an actor? Because I think we've gone for about 40 minutes on him. So,
I think there's one other movie that I'd like to recommend. Again, it's another one that sort of slipped under the radar, called Deja Vu.
Ooh, I've heard about this one. Jim Caviezel's in it, isn't he? Bloody Jesus is in it, isn't he? Is he in it?
Yes, actually, in fact, I'll tell you.
I think I've seen like 20 minutes of it. So it was on FX one day, and I started watching it. So go ahead.
That should be Deja Vu should be on Netflix as well. Just type in Denzel Washington, everyone out there, into Netflix, and it shows you all these movies. I watch most of them. But that's another really good movie, and that's a Denzel performance where you see again he's playing a cop. But this time he's playing a cop, and it's a very different kind of role than he's played before, where either he's the no-nonsense sort of all-business kind of cop like in Fallen, or he's like the bad guy like in Training Day, or he's like the fatherly mentor kind of role. This one is another one of those where he's kind of broken.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like... It's kind of a romance as well, in a way. Like,
okay.
Here's the story. The story is... without spoiling anything, the movie starts, there's like a ship, like a ferry with all like naval people and their kids on it at the beginning of the movie, blows up, domestic terrorist attack, and the guy who plays Jesus is the bad guy. That's not a spoiler, you know that early on. And so Denzel is one of the FBI guys who's trying to figure out how it all happened and all that sort of thing. And then Val Kilmer shows up and he's like, "Hey, Denzel Washington, you're really good as a detective. Come with me." Walk him into this room and he's like, We've got this big machine that can look 3 days into the past and see what happened 3 days ago. So we can look back and see before the bomb actually went off on the ship, but we only get one shot because it's a single trailing moment of now. So we can only see stuff once. So we have to be looking in the right place at the right time.
So kind of like a source code. What source code? That movie with Jake Gyllenhaal kind of did, of where he has to. Okay,
the difference is,
I'm intrigued.
With source code, they could replay it, and this one they only get one shot. So they need him because he's a detective. He needs to tell them what to focus on, because otherwise they might miss it and they might not see who the guy is. And basically, what it turns out to be is because the car that the bad guy delivers the bomb onto the ship, he gets from this woman who he kills her to get her car to deliver the bomb. Denzel figures this out. So he's like, well, let's look at this woman, because we know, he goes, we can look at who comes and goes at the ferry over the next 3 days, but we don't even know who the guy is. We could look at him right in the face and not even know it. He goes, but we know her car is what gets used. So let's focus on her, watch her life, and when he shows up to get the card, then we'll know. So it's basically like, because early on in the movie is like she's dead, and they're like sort of examining the body, and then because he's watching her 3 days in the past, it's like he's falling in love with this woman who he's seeing in the past 3 days ago, even though she's dead.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird
it's
sort
exactly like Source Code. That's what happens in Source Code. He falls in love with a dead lady. Yeah, no, keep going. Yeah.
Source Code was terrible.
You don't like Source Code?
No, I hated that.
What? I love that movie. That's a great... I don't know what you're on about. Maybe it's because I haven't seen Moon, but I love Source Code. That's a great movie.
But Deja Vu, so yeah, that's the premise, but it's got some really cool stuff. There's actually one moment where when they finally see the terrorist in the video, like from 3 days ago, so they know who he is, and there's a bit where, because it's kind of like a satellite thing looking down on the city, so they can look anywhere in that city. So the guy starts driving away, but he's getting to the point where it's out of range, and they're not going to be able to see where he goes. So they say to Denzel, we got this car that can extend the range of what we can see, but you have to follow him. So he puts on these special goggles where he's got a goggle on one eye and the other eye where he can drive. So in the goggles, he's seeing the vision 3 days in the past where the terrorist is driving. So he's trying to tail this car, but he has to get around the traffic that is there today. You know what I mean? So
yeah, well, I stopped you right there. I don't mean to stop you, but if you guys just heard rustling like about 30 seconds ago, that's because my laptop cord was like falling out and my battery's almost dead, and I was trying to fix it, so I was like rustling quickly to try to fix it, and then I like stubbed my toe in the corner of my bed, and so I had to mute my mic before I started I yelled a loud swear. So I was listening. No, I was listening to you talk though. I was trying not to make a lot of ruckus, but I'm
sure,
listening.
No worries. So it's like a chase scene where he's like chasing the ghost of this car from 3 days ago. It's really cool.
That's so cool. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, but there's actually, because you mentioned that the guy who plays the terrorist is the guy who played Jesus in Passion of the Christ, because that came out like the year before. And there's actually a bit that they cut out of the movie, because there's a bit where Denzel, because he's focusing on the car in his vision and not so much the road as he's trying to follow the terrorist, so he's not paying attention to the road so much. There's a bit where he crashes into another car and he spins around, and it's like his car sort of slides into the vision of the past, where he's like 1 meter in front of the guy, where their cars are like merged on the same bit. So he's looking right in the face of the terrorist guy. And there was the bit where Denzel, when he's there and he's looking at it and he goes, Jesus, like that. And when they showed that at the test screenings, because the guy who's there, he played Jesus in the last movie, they said we had to cut that line because it's an intense moment, but everyone starts laughing. So they went back and they reshoot it.
It's like if we have Harris Ford movie and someone's just like, give me a Han. I'm going solo on this one.
So they went back and they reshot it where Denzel is like, I could see him, he's right in front of me, but they could have kept the Jesus line in. That would have been good.
Be meta. I feel like Denzel did that he improvised it. He was just like,
he probably did.
Funny guys. I know Denzel. He loves to improvise. Yeah. All right, Deja Vu.
That's definitely another movie that people should check out. Yeah, Deja Vu.
I just looked it up, and apparently in American Netflix, there's only one Denzel movie on there. Yeah.
Really?
So that's depressing. Yeah. Yeah, apparently Australian Netflix is much better than ours. Anyways.
Maybe. When it comes to Denzel, yeah. All right, so any other movies you want to talk about?
I mean, no, I think we've covered, we talked about Man on Fire. I think we've covered all the ones that I've seen. There are definitely others I still have to try out and go see. I've seen The Preacher's Wife. It's okay. But I think there's he's just a very talented actor, and I'm happy we were able to do spotlight on this actor. I'm looking forward to our Cumberbatch episode because we have less movies to talk about with him, so we can probably spend more time on each individual film.
Yeah. And I'd say Denzel as a person, obviously I haven't met him or anything, but he seems like a pretty cool, down to earth kind of guy, don't you reckon?
So did Cosby. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure he's a very nice person. I'm sure he's a very nice person. Oh God, that's 2 rape jokes on the podcast. No, I'm sure he's a very. I hear he's a pretty cool dude. At least I hear he can be. I hear on the side of the Great Debaters, he was a bit tough to work with. But I would imagine you would be if you're directing and acting in a film. I feel like it's a lot of pressure on you from both ends, to be the director of the film and also be the lead. That sounds awful. I don't want to do that. Yeah.
I remember I do. There's like one interview from him that sticks in my memory for some reason. He was talking about because I think he grew up in New York, so he was talking about the New York subway, and he said because I think he lives in LA now, whatever. But he said like when he went to New York with all of his kids are like, oh, we want to see the New York subway. Everyone talks about the New York subway, and He goes, oh, we went down, we went through, they saw the train, and I was like, all right, let's get out of here. The interview's like, what, you didn't ride on the train or anything? And he's like, no. He goes, when I was there in New York, he goes, I had to go there every day for work. I had to take the train. When I could afford it, I'd take the train. When I couldn't afford it, I'd still have to take the train. I'd sneak in every day. He goes, I hated the train. He goes, I hated this New York subway. He goes, so if you guys want to see it, he goes, I'll show you, but there's no way we're riding on a train. I promise myself I'd never go on the subway again.
Let's take it as to imagine him saying it. It's like, I rode the train every day. I'm not going to do the train again. I already did the train every day.
Which I could get. You'd be like, if you're a movie star, you'd be like, yeah, I'm not doing that again.
He's like, you sure you guys don't want to go see like the New World Trade Center or the Empire State? It's like, nah, Daddy, let's go see the train. He's like, all right, let's go see the train. He's like, all right, let's go see the train.
Kind of a weird thing for a kid to want to see the New York subway. I know it's kind of iconic.
I don't know about that. Yeah. I think you'd want to see the subway if you've never been to New York. I think you'd want to ride it at least once. Yeah. I don't know if I would. I'm a big rat guy, so I kind of don't want to see those. I definitely would scream it. I'd freak out. I have a little girl when it comes to rats, apparently. But I think that's Denzel talk. Good talk.
Actually, can I tell you a story?
Please, go on ahead.
Sort of in line with that, and also going back to like Fallen and other stuff like that. I was almost at the point. I was almost at the point where I was convinced the house I'm living in is haunted. Turned out it was just mice.
Oh,
we got a mice problem.
Because you have a lot of problems over there in Australia, huh?
Well, it's like,
oh boy,
like quite frequently, since I moved in here, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, with the feeling that someone was in the room, and I'd sort of wake up and I'd be like, what? And there'd be no one there, and I'd be like, oh, that's weird,
Hashtags sleep with a nightlight. People always rat on me with sleeping with a nightlight, but you can see things in it with a nightlight. That's all I'm saying.
And since I moved in here, there'd be even weird stuff in the corner of my eyes. Like things would catch in the corner of my eye, and I'd turn, and there'd be nothing there. And it was so weird. I was getting to the point where I was like, pretty sure this house is haunted. No,
cameras.
We had mice. Mice would run around at night, rustle through things, knock things over. That'd wake me up. Or they'd run from one room to another across the hallway in the corner, and that'd catch my eye.
That reminds me of this Aziz Ansari sketch.
So anyone out there, you mentioned rat, it made me think. But I just yesterday, I got one of them. I killed him with my shoe. So.
Good Lord. You killed a mice with your shoe?
Yes.
Oh, Bandit. Did you step on it like a dog, or did you just slam it on the ground?
No, I just grabbed the shoe and just bashed it with the shoe.
Oh my God.
Well, it was inside. It was there was a bag of peanuts where I poured a bag of peanuts into a container, and I just had the wrapper just on a table, and the mouse had gotten up on the table and had gone into the packet, right? So it was inside the packet eating whatever residues or crumbs. So I could hear it in there. So I just grabbed the shoe and just went bang, just
oh
hit
my
the packet,
God!
And I just went bang, 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 and just kept hitting it. And I was like, you bastard, I got you. Because it ran over my toes a couple of times.
Oh my God, Pinky and the brain, man. What would you do every day, Pinky? Try to avoid the Aussie. It
was very satisfying taking it out. Because one of the areas it runs past is I got my desk. And it will run along the wall behind my desk. So a couple of times I've been sitting here working late at night. And it will actually run across my toes. It's horrible. You just suddenly go, ah! So once I got him, I
just imagine like your sister's like sleep on the couch, and there's like she's sleeping, and you tell like this giant F-bomb being screamed, like she's just screaming, and she's like, "Oh my god, what's wrong?" She's like, "Oh, this mouse went across my foot." She's like, "For Christ's sake!" And she's like, went back to sleep. Oh man, speaking of ghosts, this reminds me of this Aziz Ansari. Speaking of tangents, this comedian Aziz Ansari, he talked about this sketch about ghosts and how most ghosts these days would probably be like modern ghosts, where they would wake up in the night and be like, "Ooh, what's the Netflix passcode?" And like you realize you're being haunted when they're like on.
Password for the Wi-Fi.
Yes, what's the Wi-Fi passcode? When you realize they're on you're suddenly like 3 seasons ahead on like Breaking Bad, and you weren't there before. You're like, who's been watching my Netflix? It's just like this ghost sitting in the corner.
I've come back from the dead to tell you to delete my search history.
That's exactly it. It should be like Control delete. Just burn the computer. Get rid of the hard drive. It's not. You can't save any of it. All right, Bandit. Let's get to the listener questions.
Listener questions.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
All right, guys, this is the listener question portion of the show, in which case we answer your listener questions on the Facebook page. For starters here, Dylan Adkins asks, have you seen the film Mary and Max? And with that, have you ever wanted or went to Sundance? Do you know what Sundance is?
The film festival?
Yeah, it's one of those film festivals where you watch all the good movies that are apparently out. I've always wanted to go to a film festival of any kind, whether that be South by Southwest or Toronto International or Vancouver International, Comic-Con. I've always wanted to go to a film festival. But in terms of the film Mary and Max, what he's referring to, because I think he tweeted us this as well, it's a stop-motion animated film, much like Kubo and Nightmare Before Christmas, where this one is more like claymation, like straight-up claymation, obviously, is by the way the figures are obviously formed and how they look. And I guess it's essentially, it's a story about this girl who gets a pen pal with this like 35-year-old like lonely fat man, and they kind of develop this really strong friendship. Apparently, I've only seen the trailer, but like Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it. The late great Philip Seymour Hoffman is in it. He plays the really old fat man. He voices the old fat man, and it looks really endearing. So yes, Dylan Adkins, I thank you for recommending that to me. I plan on checking that out because I'm a big stop motion fan. I'm especially a fan of stop motion when it's not specifically kid based. Like Anomalisa to me is great. Have you seen Anomalisa, Banda?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you
so
recommended it for homework.
Yeah, like this seems like kind of like an Anomalisa meets like a kind of like a Tim Burton more kind of feel to it. It looks really interesting, so I'll check out Mary and Max. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Atkins.
Yeah, but in answer to the question of the film festival, I've never been to a proper film festival, but I have been to kind of like a mini sort of version of a film festival where it had like short films, sort of like indie films. They were all pretty much crap. I didn't really like them.
That's always my concern going to like a student film festival. I'm like, what if it's all going to be like the same thing?
Yeah. It was all like really trying too hard to be artsy kind of nonsense. It was just I didn't like it. The only really cool thing about it is if you're at the film festival, you don't get fined for drinking in public. So everyone's walking around with a beer. That was the best part of it. Just being able to drink in public without worrying about getting fined.
That's always my concern when I want to go out there and make a short film. Like, what if I make it like too like pretentious? So I always like that's also I'm like I don't want it to be like too sappy, but at the same time I don't want it to be like dumb action. I don't know, whatever.
If you want to make it pretentious, what you could do is make it so over the top pretentious that they either think you're a genius or they go, "This is obviously satire. It's hilarious."
Yes,
that's the best option.
What? That's called pulling a Kate Winslet in because I think what show was it? It might have been Saturday Night Live where she went on that show, and on one of the sketches she plays, she's like they run into her on set of a movie, and Kate Winslet, she's like, oh, I'm just playing this Holocaust person, and I don't know, I just want to win an Oscar, and I think she ended up winning an Oscar that same year or a year later for playing a Holocaust-esque person. And she ended up winning an Oscar for it because it was so Oscar baity that it ended up working. So maybe it's one of those things, but whatever.
It'd be like, You know, there's those fake trailers at the start of Tropic Thunder.
Yes.
And there's the one for Robert Downey Jr.'s
Simple
character.
Jack. Simple Jack.
But if you want to do the super pretentious one, you do the one for Robert Downey Jr.'s character, where he's the gay monk. It'd be just like that, you know.
Oh, he's great in that movie, Judge. I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude. Sky's another dude.
Sky's another dude.
Never go full retard.
What do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people?
That's a really good movie. Excuse me. Oh, man. Okay. Do you have one?
Oh, yeah, you caught me off guard. Sorry, I was too busy laughing.
Okay, well, here, let me see.
Have you got another one? I'll find one.
Yeah, you and David ask. He says, what's the best film where one of the characters says the title of the film, like in the movie? Like Will Smith in Suicide Squad.
Well, you're going to say The Dark Knight, right?
Oh, yeah, dude. I completely like, good God. What a way to end your movie. Yeah. He does, but like it's not even like in a way that like if it could easily come across as cheesy and like kill the vibe of the movie. But man, dude, like how awesome is you know how much I love The Dark Knight. It's my favorite movie. How awesome is like Batman's Robin? It's like a watchful guardian, a Dark Knight, and everyone's just like, oh my God, it's Bat. That's a you know, my favorite one's probably Star Wars, though. Yeah. That one guy's just like, I'm sick of all these Star Wars. that weekly planet joke. It's like, this time, the Empire Strikes Back. What's that joke we had, like, at the start of the year, where, like, every movie has to end with the title of the new movie? There will be the Return of the Jedi. But what about you, Kevin? What about you?
I'm trying to think. There's actually not that many movies where they mention the name of the movie. Except every Godzilla movie, they always mention, of course, that. Gogeta!
More do it than not, because it's like, because CinemaSins, that channel, always has that thing called roll credits, where every time the title happens, they're like roll credits. That's usually how like you end a movie with like the title of the movie. I think like they do it, like Captain America does it, and we're sort of just like, he's called the Winter Soldier. It's like roll credits. It's like I'm sure if I looked up the CinemaSins roll credits, I'm sure it'd be. I think in Fellowship they're like, welcome to the Fellowship of the Ring. They say something like that, and I think there's a roll credits moment in that. It's like the Lord of the Rings. I know they say that once or twice in that franchise, Lord of the Rings. I'm serious. I'm pretty sure. What's your face? Kate Blanchett says it a few times.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Well, I actually kind of did that for my return to Revenge of the Sith fanfiction.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I was
Nostalgia critics say that at the end.
That's exactly what I was
referring to. It's a totally cringy line, but I was like, but if a Nostalgia critic can do it, it's okay. I don't mind.
I think the best part about that, since now that it's out, I can talk about it, is that you wanted me to play Yoda, but my voice, either my mic was too bad, or my Yoda impression was so good you couldn't even hear me speak. Like you would need subtitles, and so it's like I remember because I got the script for it because the best part is like everyone's like, when are you gonna finish Revenge of the Sith? Like I already know how it ends. It's like because I had the script, and so like I remember I was trying to read the night. I was like, A New Hope, and I was just like, that's a really cheesy line, but I like it. I was like,
yeah,
I mean, that's where the joke came from of ending each movie with the next title. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, Yoda's a real tough voice to do, isn't it?
I think it's a tough one to do, understandably.
Yeah, it's one thing to like pick a line that Yoda says in the movies and imitate it, but it's another one to say totally new stuff as Yoda.
Absolutely,
it's a whole different.
Yes. Do you have another question?
Did
you find one?
Okay. Do you think we will see? Christopher Ryan says, "Do you think we will see Nightwing and Tim Drake in Ben Affleck's Batman?"
I think we absolutely see, maybe not Nightwing, but we definitely see Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I don't know about Tim Drake because we're approaching Tim Drake time, because this is around the time Tim Drake in the Batman canon at least, like Jason Todd dies, a few years pass, and then Tim Drake. Tim Drake is an orphan, isn't it? How does he find Tim Drake? Doesn't he figure out that Bruce Wayne is Batman in the Batman canon? Because I know he adopts Dick Grayson. Jason Todd gets the wheels off the Batmobile, and I think Tim Drake figures out that he's Batman somehow. I can't remember exactly how the canon works, but I know for a fact we'll probably see Dick Grayson in this one. Who do you want to play him if we do? But you answer the question. Go ahead.
Well, I like the idea how people said Scott Eastwood in Suicide Squad was actually Nightwing.
Yeah.
Because unless you know who Scott Eastwood is, you probably wouldn't noticed him in Suicide Squad. He's like that scene in Suicide Squad where they're all in that military base and Harley Quinn gets undressed in front of everyone, that whole thing. One of RoboCop's on the side soldier guys is Scott Eastwood. Yeah. So I'd be cool with that guy being Nightwing.
He's dead, isn't he? He dies.
Did he?
He blows up in Suicide Squad, doesn't he?
Oh, he's the guy who blew up in the tunnel.
Is he maybe because I know there are a couple of guys that are in there, and I know one gets taken out by one of Enchantress's weird CGI gross things, and I think either one guy or two people blow up in that explosion. Because I know Killer Croc makes it.
I thought it was just a generic soldier guy. Oh,
I know.
Why would you get Clint Eastwood's son and kill him off in the first movie? What's the point?
Clint Eastwood's son hasn't proven himself to be a talented actor yet. That's why.
I know, but he could be in the future.
Yeah, he definitely could be.
Why not save him in case he becomes big later on?
Because DC sucks at hindsight. That's why.
And by the way, Suicide Squad, wasn't the whole point of that movie supposed to be that Killer Croc actually does something good? He didn't. The soldiers still blew up. What was the point of having him even
at least he stayed a bad
by
guy
doing that?
Oh, because you need that BET joke. I like that BET because you need the BET joke. You need the black girls twerking joke at the end of the movie. That's why. Anyways, but who would you? I think. Do you think that we would any chance we see Tim Drake already established? Here's my. Here's a better question. In this universe, are you okay with there being an actual Robin in this universe? Because I am. I
would say not until they capitalize on that he's got a dead Robin already. For assuming it's Jason Todd who's the Robin with the ha 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 jokes on you Batman graffiti on it. Don't give him a new Robin until you actually make use of that in a movie and address the impact that had on Batman. Because if you don't and you just bring in a new Robin, what's the point in even having that in there?
Right.
Yeah, and I fear that in the Zack Snyder universe, they might just go, let's just bring in another Robin. And why waste that opportunity to tell that story? Why? So have him deal with that and then bring in a new Robin. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Well, I know you guys talked about Deathstroke last week because they cast him and they announced he was going to be the villain in the Batman movie. I already have a problem with that inherently. Of Deathstroke being your first villain out because it's weird. Really? It's a weird choice. I think it's a weird choice to have him be your main villain because he's a good character. He's a good villain, but I always see him more as a Teen Titans villain. I just think that because this has to be because no matter what happens in the DC cinematic universe, I feel like Batman's the movie you have to make good because once you make a bad Batman movie, it's all over because right now everyone's saying at least Batman will be good, but if Batman sucks, then you really have messed up. So I think at this rate,
I hadn't thought of that. That's true. If Ben Affleck's solo Batman movie doesn't hit the ball out of the park, then they're really done.
Then that's because that's the last light of the because some people really are looking forward to Wonder Woman, but I'm not. That might be good, but Ben Affleck's Batman needs to be great. They just released that picture of Jim Gordon, J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, by the way, and he looks great. I don't know if you've seen that picture. Yeah, it looks great, but I think for a first villain in a Batman movie, why don't you do Riddler? I really want to see Riddler.
Nobody wants to see Riddler.
Everyone's like, we've seen him already, but that's the thing. People think of the Riddler, think of the stupid villain that always. But listen to me.
The Riddler is discount Joker. That's all he is.
That's not true at all.
Nobody wants to see the Riddler. He's a B villain.
Which is why he'd be a great villain in your first Batman movie, Mr. Interruptions. Because you have your chance to say, okay, Sarah, listen to me, right? You get Neil Patrick Harris, right? You cast him as the Riddler, and you have a chance to have a true, a Seven style Batman movie with the Riddler. And that sounds like a really cool idea than just having a guy that Batman can fight. You know what I mean? I feel because I don't want to see a Joker as the main villain.
Deathstroke makes way more sense because there's much bigger fan base out there for Deathstroke, and he's one of the few big villains you can bring in that we haven't already seen in live action. It makes total sense. Everybody hates the Riddler. He sucks.
Bandit, I don't think that's true at all. I highly doubt that everyone. I think you're projecting.
Even in the comics themselves, they make fun of how stupid the Riddler is.
I think you're projecting your own feelings of the Riddler onto the masses, and I think that's wrong of you. I think it's wrong to assume people's thoughts on the Riddler. I think you're oppressing people by assuming that you clearly have issues. You social.
Well, then why is I'm prejudiced against Riddlers? I don't like riddles. Remember, even in Suicide Squad: Assault on Arkham, there's that bit where Amanda Waller, remember, he's annoying her with riddles. And eventually she's just like, yeah, I just Googled them, idiot.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, that's Riddler. Nobody takes him seriously.
No, that's different. That's not what Riddler's doesn't. I mean, he does that, but he's very intelligent. I think you really like. It's like saying, did you ever in the animated series? I think it was the Clock King, when you do a villain like Clock King, everyone's just like, Clock King, that D-list character, but it's one of the best episodes in the animated series because of how they're able to use that character. Someone like Clock King or Calendar Man, someone like characters like that you wouldn't think would be. And first of all, I don't know why you have this sudden hatred for the Riddler. I don't know where that comes from.
I'll tell you why, because his whole thing is, as Riddler, I'm going to taunt you about my crime. I'm going to leave clues. Haha, you'll never catch me. Yeah, that's what the Joker does, and he does it better.
That's not true at all.
It is true. That's what the very first time the Joker was in the comic was he announces his crime ahead of time to challenge Batman to get him, and he leaves clues for the next one. They did that in The Dark Knight. The Joker does that, and he does that better. Riddler is Diet Joker, discount Joker.
Not true. Well, the Joker is more of a force of nature that piles through things and leaves a mess in his wake. But the Riddler is but the Riddler is a bit more methodical in how he does things than I think the Joker can be at certain times. I'm not saying that there aren't similarities within the character, but I don't think you can look at certain things and suddenly say, "Oh, they're just a clone of each other." That's not at all true.
But see, we've already had that. Even if that's true, like in essence, the whole thing that he leaves clues and he challenges you to catch him, we've seen that already. We haven't seen someone like Deathstroke go up against Batman. Deathstroke's totally different. You don't know what
a guy
Deathstroke's
Batman can
do.
fight. Sure.
Yeah, a guy that's stronger than Batman, that can outclass Batman in every way.
Sure.
But there's like that interesting dynamic that he actually...
How so?
Well, it's heavily implied that he knows who Batman is.
Okay.
But he doesn't talk about it because he's like, well, professional courtesy, that kind of thing. Mind you, everyone in this universe kind of knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Like, Lex Luthor knows it. Amanda Waller knows it. I'm pretty sure Lois Lane knows it. Apparently everyone knows it.
I mean... That's every Batman movie kind of ends with them like kind of knowing who Batman is, anyways. But I think I'm not saying Deathstroke does not work as a Batman villain. My thing is more of, and I will fight you forever on the fact that Deathstroke has a bigger fan base than the Riddler. I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm gonna have to fight you on that. I'm gonna have to get some fan. We're gonna have to get some fan feedback on that.
Of the Riddler at all?
I legitimately, I'm not even trying to make fun of you at this point. I legitimately think you're trying to make, because you don't like the Riddler, you're trying to think that everyone else doesn't like the Riddler, because I love the Riddler. I don't know where this is coming from.
Hold on. Like, okay, well, if that's the case, like, when people play the Arkham games, are people in the reviews and stuff like,
that's different.
You know who's great?
That's different.
Riddler, man. Riddler. So awesome.
That's not the Riddler's fault. That's Rocksteady's fault. That's Rocksteady's fault. Oh my, that's okay. First of all, that's Rocksteady's fault, not the Riddler's fault. That's Rocksteady for making the fact that I have to throw 3 batarangs and then fly down to a target in a matter of 3 seconds to get this trophy. No, thank you. Now it's that's different than the Riddler. The Riddler as a character, but I think even if you don't, I just use the Riddler as an example. I wasn't trying to get in this whole Riddler debate before you started screaming at me. I was just saying that Deathstroke is not the villain you go out in your first movie, just because I think to get everyone on board with Batman.
But if you want to say the Riddler is better than Deathstroke, you're going to get an argument. You know that.
I was just using it as a bloody example, for Christ's sake. I'm just saying, like, if you're going to do a Batman movie, your first villain out, I don't think should be someone like Deathstroke. I think it should be someone that we know more of to get everyone back on board. And you can do Deathstroke later on, or even have him be a secondary character, a secondary villain in the Batman movie. You can still have him be in it, kind of like Arkham Origins, where he shows up and he's a very nice foil for Batman. But to have him be the main villain movie, and to have an actor who has not proven himself to be a very talented actor, to get Joe Manganiello to play him,
like,
really,
granted, like Deathstroke is not well known sort of outside comic book circles, but neither was Bane when Tom Hardy played him. So does it really matter if people don't know him all that much?
That wasn't the first movie out. That was the end of a trilogy. And so we needed kind of that character to break down Batman both physically and psychologically, as the Joker had in the movie before. But if you're doing like first movie out, you know, people knew who the Scarecrow was. He was a Batman villain from the animated series. People knew him as a character, so they brought him in for their first movie because he wasn't the most iconic villain like the Joker was, but he was well known enough to where people were like, oh yeah, I know the Scarecrow. You know, so you know what I'm saying? I feel like, and plus, you know, that we're in a different place than we were back with the Dark Knight trilogy now. We are now in a place of where we expect quality we expect quality superhero movies all the time, and DC right now is on thin ice with a lot of people. And I think to get everyone back on board, we need to say, oh yeah, that Batman movie, oh yeah, it's going to have, I don't know, it's going to have Penguin or someone in it. I don't know. We've already done Penguin. I don't need to do Penguin again. Yeah, no, Peter King should be a pretty cool Penguin. I don't know.
if they weren't going to do Deathstroke and they weren't going to do Riddler, I guess, I mean, they can't do Killer Croc. They've already done him. They can't do Scarecrow. They've already done him.
Arkham movie.
Maybe they could do
Arkham.
Hush.
Let's make it Arkham.
Maybe they could
Hush
do
would
Hush.
Be really cool. I'm down for Hush.
They could have Clayface. They could put Clayface in it.
Just do an Arkham movie, please. I'm down for an Arkham movie.
Well, apparently the next one will be.
How does Deathstroke fit in an Arkham Asylum? How does that do with anything?
What do you mean? He's a mercenary. He shows up wherever.
Yeah. So Batman's locked at Arkham Asylum. Why is Deathstroke his biggest problem?
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie.
No, you don't. That's not an excuse. Don't pull that on me. You're smarter than that. You're not an idiot. You know how this game works.
So because certain parts of the movie take place in Arkham, that means it's impossible to have Deathstroke in the movie.
I'm just saying, if your main plot of the film, from what I've heard, the main plot of the film is that Batman, it takes place in Arkham Asylum. I don't see why you would need to have Deathstroke be the main villain in that story. That's much more of a Joker main villain movie than anything, or even like a corrupt politician as the main villain, and he just have to fight all these villains. My point is,
someone has hired him to be there, so it's probably someone in Arkham Asylum. I mean, Lex is in Arkham
which makes Deathstroke the secondary villain at that point, which I'm okay with. Yeah, which I'm okay with, but that's not what they're doing anyways. Anyway.
Well, remember, Batman did say to Lex at the end of Batman v Superman, he's like, I'm transferring you to Arkham. I still have friends there. So maybe he's getting Deathstroke to break in and get Lex out, and hooray, Lex Luthor in the movie. That's
a pretty cool plot. Batman has to try to stop the breakout of Lex Luthor. I'm down for a plot like that. That's cool.
Maybe Deathstroke is breaking into Arkham to kill Jesse Eisenberg. That'd be good.
Actor Jesse Eisenberg has been trapped in
Arkham. Deathstroke has been hired by Bryan Cranston to kill Jesse Eisenberg.
Yes.
So Bryan Cranston gets taken over as Lex. There you go.
Post-credit scene, it's like Deathstroke comes back and it's just like, and you hear it's like, is it done? And then you just see like you think like, is that Walter White? And it's like, don't worry, Lex, we took care of it. It's like Lex Luthor Sr. and it's like Lex Luthor will return.
I am the one who knocks.
Lex Luthor will return in Justice League 2, and we're just like, oh my god, yay! Yeah, but that's never going to happen.
He does the pyramid fingers thing, the Mr. Burns evil thing.
It's all right, okay. Well, then let's I'd see. Wait a minute. I have another.
I'm really surprised you're not more interested in Deathstroke.
I think he's a great character. I just don't think he works as the main villain in a Batman film. I'm not saying I'm still hyped as hell for this movie, but you know what I mean. It's like I just feel like
it's something different.
Different doesn't always make it the best, though. You know, like just because something. Just because something's familiar does not mean that it's bad. You know?
Yeah, okay, but we've had like a bazillion Batman movies by now.
Yeah.
Sure, you can say the Nolan movies were a different thing. They were, but you know, we can do something different now.
But I just feel like DC has messed up so much trying to be quote unquote different that I just want to see them do what we know already right. You know what I'm saying? I think it's kind of like the Force Awakens method, which I know you're not a fan of. Before you interrupt me again, let me say the reason the Force Awakens was essentially a remake is because George Lucas did so much different with the prequels. Disney just said, okay, you know what? Let's just make a remake. Let's just remake it and show that we can make good movies again. I'm completely okay with them doing a story that we've seen before in the Batman mythos. If it's a great movie, I'd much rather them see that than see what Zack Snyder is trying to do when he's trying to make this original take on some of the characters. And you know what I'm saying? I just give me a good Batman movie again. That's all I'm asking for. I don't need anything special or new or interesting or unique take on things. Just give me something. Just if it's familiar, I don't give a crap. Just make a good movie. I'm nervous, Bandit. I'm all shook, and I'm like a beaten housewife.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's the same. Like for Rogue One, like you don't like Deathstroke because you're like, oh no, it's a bit different. And then it's like Rogue One, and you're like, oh, I don't know, it's a bit different. Like you don't like original ideas, do you?
That's not. Well,
you don't like original stuff.
Well,
You're
hold on.
No.
I'm definitely down for Rogue One. We just had a conversation earlier this episode about me wanting Rogue One to be more different than the episodic films that we already gotten. I'm pretty down.
It is, and I know, but it is different. It is its own original story.
Just because I wasn't impressed by the trailer doesn't mean that I can't. That just doesn't mean that I'm not looking forward to that movie, and I appreciate its originality. In fact, we just talked about how I was upset because they're apparently doing things to make it feel more episodic like the original trilogies, and I don't understand your argument there.
But you're not excited that it's a new story.
I am excited that it's a new story. I'm not excited because it didn't look that good from the trailers. The story is not the problem I have issue with. It's the way the film looks and the effects and some of them acted from our main characters. The story is not my issue with Rogue One. You're definitely putting words in my mouth at this point, Mr. Debate Team.
No, I'm just saying it just seems interesting that when a franchise tries to do something new, you don't seem to like it.
It's not the originality that I don't like about Rogue One. It's the stuff. It's the stuff I've seen in the trailers. The plot is. I said my mic. Sorry. The plot itself, the premise of Rogue One is not the issue. That's a great premise. Maybe the fact that if Jen Erso looked like the better actress in the film and she didn't look so wooden, I'd be more excited. Maybe if the CG looked better than it did look like Revenge of the Sith. Maybe if the CG didn't look like it was from Revenge of the Sith instead of The Force Awakens, I'd be more excited.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, you can't judge special effects from trailers. We all know that.
Fair enough. Then don't put them in the trailers.
Well, they have to release a trailer.
Because Force Awakens,
they can't not release a trailer. They have to.
Force Awakens had some pretty badass effects. I'll tell you what. It looked great in the trailer. But just because CG's bad in the trailers, we can't be like, oh, we can't judge that because it's a trailer. I'm like, well, then why'd you put it out? And to say, well, because we have to do a trailer is not a good excuse because you should put your best foot out there. You shouldn't just put like, oh, we have to put this out because we have to put out a trailer. That's not.
Well,
they
have to put out. They have to put out a trailer, but they're still working on the movie.
That's
they can't wait until the entire movie is finished before they release the trailer.
No, but in the same way, James Gunn has gone out and said the reason we have yet to put out a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 trailer is because the effects are not done. I'm like, see, if the effects are not complete and the effects are not good enough, then don't put out that trailer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, just wait for and maybe take the time to work on the effects are going to be in the trailers, are going to be put out there in the marketing, and then save the stuff like the bigger kind of climactic events. For example, there's a bit where clearly a planet is being destroyed. They didn't show a lot of that because a lot of that's probably not done. And I think what they did show looked good because they took time to work on it. Anyways, I'm sorry. I've had to defend myself a few times about that. My opinion on that trailer, whether it be you or some of my friends.
You don't expect the special effects to be as good as they are in the movie, in the trailer. You just want them to be a little better.
I just want them to put their best foot out forward if they're going to put it in the trailer. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all.
Fair enough.
Right. Fair enough. Okay, we good? We're good? We chill? I just imagine it's like I'm trying to say my opinion on Rogue One, and everyone's just surrounding me. I'm just like, Bandit, where'd you go, Bandit? And you're just like off, like driving away to like training day. Bandit. Shot me in my ass. Okay, one more here. Joshua Udi. I feel like we've already answered a question. No, Joshua Udi, old friend of the show. He asked, when adapting a movie from another source, like a comic book, or a board game or something like that, do you favor a more true to original approach, or more of a let's see where we can take this? Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Do you prefer them to say accurate or be maybe more lenient with the source material? Sorry.
Did he say in the question? So it's adapting from board games? Did he say?
No, he was just adapting from a source in general. He just brought up board games like the movie Clue. He was just talking in general. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So accuracy to the source material. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough question, isn't it? It really depends from like movie to movie, doesn't it? Like, I think using board games, for example, Battleship, you can do that however you want. I mean,
yeah.
It doesn't. You can do it however you want. Just make it good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it depends. It doesn't necessarily. I don't know if it depends. It just if you are making a movie, excuse me, my bad. Just make the best movie you can. Don't, accuracy, because sometimes things simply do not translate to screen well. There is, since we're talking about, since we're doing Harry Potter over the course of these last few weeks, and since we've passed that book, I think it's in book 4 where Hermione starts up this organization to help the house elves, who are, essentially indentured servitude / slavery. But that does not need to make it into an already 2.5-hour movie. There are certain things that you cut out. Ron does Quidditch in book 5, but they leave that out entirely until movie 6. And so there are certain things that you just kind of cut out for the sake of...
Yeah.
For the sake of telling your story. The Martian is a great book, but it's also a great book that spends probably 2 chapters. It's just him driving in the desert, and it's a great book, and those are some great chapters. But they cut out the movie because otherwise the movie would be 4 hours long. Make the best movie you can. But and still respect the source material, obviously. But if you have to diverge from things, but at the same time, this also raises the question of, well, when is it no longer the original material, or even worse, when someone goes, oh, well, it's an adaptation, so it doesn't have to be the exact same thing. Batman, Superman. People like to use that argument of like, it's an adaptation of Batman, so he can kill people. I'm like, no, it's different. It's, whatever.
Yeah,
it's different. It's not, yeah.
I mean, but then, it's so difficult to say because, like, that's true. Like, you use the example of Batman. Yeah, like, having him kill has a lot of problems with the source material. But then, on the other hand, Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark is nothing like the character in the comics. Completely different. So,
no, but it's not like Tony Stark does not have. And listen, I'm not the world's biggest and immersed Tony Stark fan, so please don't quote me on this when I say that. But Tony Stark doesn't have a specific. With Batman, Batman has a specific rule that has been stated. Yeah. And it's something that has defined him as a character. It is the reason he does things, the reason he is that kind of person for decades of comic books. And people can go, well, early Batman killed him. Like, yeah, that Batman, you mean early into his career? Oh, you mean that's supposed to this Batman who's like at the end of his career? Ha! Bam! I just posed that argument. But my point is, you're now taking that Batman and you're now making him no longer Batman. You're now making him the Punisher. That is who he is. He is the Punisher with a lot of money. That's all I'm gonna. It's whatever.
That's right. I agree.
Yeah.
No argument with me on that one. But,
thank God.
So I guess we could say like you can change as much as you want, just as long as it makes it better. That's kind of a cop-out answer, but I guess that's a real. Change is only good if it makes things better. Yes.
I mean, yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix. But at the same time, like I said, make the movie you want to make. Make the movie you are trying to do. It's just, if you're a good filmmaker, then you know how to adapt a story. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like,
Oh, I
guess-
just found the question I was talking about in the ended point. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. But I just found the question. Anyways, go, keep going. Yeah.
Okay. Lewis Peatling says, "What is the best stop motion animated movie?"
Not gonna like my answer.
Anomalisa. No, it's Kubo on the two.
But if we're going by animation and like just pure animation, I just might go Anomalisa because that is a beautiful film. But it's like it's stop motion. Like they do some things in that film where you're just like. But another good one is Fantastic Mr. Fox. That's a great movie. Have you seen that one?
No.
It's a Wes Anderson film, and it's based off the Roald Dahl book. And it's George Clooney. He voices this kind of this sly fox, if you will. And it's set this family of animals living underground in between these three farmers. It's very Roald Dahl, so it's already very strange. And then Wes Anderson adds his own weird style, obviously. But it's a very good film. And it's a stop motion animated film, and it's really charming. It's very I don't know how to say it has that sense of this is a different kind of animated film, and I think if you watch, I think you'd really enjoy it. But then again, yeah, Kubo on the Two Strings is great.
Yeah, I'd say Kubo on the Two Strings, because despite the problems I have with that movie, there is no denying that the animation was spectacular.
I mean, opening scene alone, is just like I don't know how they did that. I don't know how they did the water, but that just like I remember that I saw that and I was like, how did you manage to pull that off? I would say the Lego Movie, even that movie is all CG, but the way they did it, it was like they like turned down the frame rate of the Lego Movies, make it look like it was stop motion, which I really respected. like that scene where in the ocean, the water looks all like jaggedy and wavy because it looks like it's stop motion water. I'm like, I'm really impressed by that.
Yeah. I love the way they run going.
Yes, I love the way like
that
like
jerky
the way they move.
kind of motion.
Yeah, like it's like they skip a couple frames when they walk. Yeah. Another good one I think is The Nightmare Before Christmas. That's a classic in my opinion. Have you seen Nightmare Before Christmas?
Sorry, I was reading another question. Have
you seen The Nightmare Before Christmas?
I've got that on my homework list here, written in my iPad, but no, I still haven't watched it.
You probably won't like it. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you might like it. You probly won't, though.
Well, hey, it's
you don't
Tim Burton, so I probably won't. Yeah.
Well, Tim Burton, he produced it. He didn't direct it. He produced it. His name's on it, though. Yeah, but that's a very good stop motion anime film. It's an older one too, it's from like '93, and I mean, just that opening scene. I feel like you've seen the opening scene somewhere because it's everywhere around Halloween. But you guys don't do Halloween in the Aussie land, so maybe never mind. But yeah, give that one a check out too. But I don't know. I kind of answer that question with a lot of different animated movies. Sorry.
Right.
Anomalisa is my final answer. There you go. You were right, Bandit.
All right, so I'm surprised you didn't pick Kubo. But yeah, I mean, Anomalisa is great.
Kubo's great, but I got to give it some time to permeate on my brain a little. Like I remember I saw it to people and they were just like, "That's the best movie ever." I'm like, give it some time to think about it before your opinion changes on it a little. Give it some time to breathe. And I've given Anomalisa some time to breathe, and it's a very good movie. But what were you going to say?
We all know the real reason you're picking Anomalisa. Stop motion sex scene.
I forgot about the stop motion penis. I forgot that's in that movie. The weird like stop motion like floppy dick in the movie. I forget that happens. I remember talking with Trilbee about that. I thinking about like all the themes and like the weird twisted makes it like the third act, and it's just like, well, there was that part where they had sex. I was like, yeah, it takes up a good chunk of the movie. It's like 20 minutes though. It's just it takes them a while. It takes whatever. Yeah. Forgot that movie. Oh, whatever. Well, I just feel like a big pervert. Anyways, what's the next question? You have a question, Bandit?
Yeah, I was just looking through them. Did you have another one you want to say? Because there's one here.
No, you go ahead and read yours.
Yep. Okay. Oh man, now I've lost it. Sorry, everyone.
Bandit. I have one if you can keep finding yours.
It's all right. I found it. Jonathan Davis said, "Have you guys heard the Froggy Fresh rap about Denzel Washington?" I have no idea what that is.
That's why I have no idea what he's on about. I read that earlier. I was like, what? The what? The what with the who?
Froggy Fresh I have no. Hang on. Let me in live action now. I'll go on YouTube, see if I can find it. Froggy Fresh Rap. I'll use the voice thing. Froggy Fresh Rap Denzel Washington.
There are no movies like that in your area.
Okay, let's see what this is.
Froggy Fresh. And Maker Mike. And Denzel Washington. I said it's Denzel Washington, the best actor ever. He's so darn cool. He's so darn clever. I think that you're the man, and Mike does too. Denzel, if you want, you can join our crew. I said it's Denzel Washington, the best actor ever. He's so darn cool. He's so darn clever. I think that you're...
Okay, I get the point.
What the hell? What the hell is that?
Could you hear that okay? Or?
I can hear that. I can hear that very clearly. He's
Yeah.
so darn clever. What was that?
It's just two white guys standing in a basement. One's a guy just sort of very blandly mouthing those words, and the other one's this skinnier nerd with glasses who's just standing there. It's like the
it must be. It must be
rap-like
Krispy
video.
Kreme. Is that Krispy Kreme? I think I know exactly who that guy is. He did another rap video a while back, and I love that guy. It was the nerdy guy in the back. Yes, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I know exactly what that is. Oh man. Okay, well, I do have another question.
That was
here.
very weird, but okay.
I'm glad we took up time in the podcast to do that. Thank you, appreciate that. I do have another question.
Best actor ever. It's kind of catchy.
That's the key.
So darn
that's right.
clever. I love how they say "darn" in a rap as well.
Yeah, I do. I do have another question here from Brady Doob. He said, speaking of seven, besides the original seven members of the Justice League, which is Superman, Batman, Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, and Wonder Woman, which heroes do you want to see in the Justice League film series?
Well, I would say normally Sinestro, but they kind of ruined that with the Green Lantern movie.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they had Mark Strong as Sinestro, and he would be a fantastic Sinestro if he was in a better movie.
I thought he kind of nailed that.
He did. He
I
was
thought
kind of the best
He
part
did okay
of that.
for. He did the best for what they gave him. For what they gave him, yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess there's always the chance we could see Sinestro again. He'd be great.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. What do you reckon? Who do you want to see?
I think because, like I said, right now I just kind of want a good movie. But if in my dream world, I would like to kind of see, and actually I kind of want to see the Teen Titans. I know that kind of doesn't answer his question of who do you want to see on the Justice League, because I think pretty much everyone that I want to see is going to be in the movie, with the exception of Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter for some reason. I'm not going to pull any cards, but we got Cyborg. Okay, fine. But I'd like to see the Teen Titans, because I think that's such a different kind of dynamic group. I don't want to. They've really been trying to push for Justice League Dark for a long time. I think like they're once again trying to get that movie going, and they're doing an animated film. I kind of don't want to see Justice League Dark. Like, I feel like if you're gonna do anything on TV, that's what you do on TV, because it's just, like at this rate, let's just get a Justice League movie off the ground before we start trying to do like spin-offs and side stories and characters. I don't know. Like I said, DC has me really burned right now, so I honestly don't know how to answer that question other than let's see the Teen Titans. Yeah.
Well, I'd also like to see Brainiac. I mean, it'd be great if Justice League was going up against Brainiac instead of.
I think they're talking about. They're talking about like heroes, not. I think that's what the question's referring to.
Oh, heroes. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to see Arm Fall Off Boy.
Arm Fall. What?
That's a real character, by the way. Arm Fall Off Boy.
Is it?
That's his superpower. His arm falls off, and he can reattach it. He's appeared in a couple of comics. They do him as an obvious joke, where it's in different situations where they're trying to put a superhero team together and people are auditioning. Arm Fall Off Boy always shows up and he's like, "Can I be on the team?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, mate, nah."
No,
I'd love to see that scene. I want to see Ben Affleck being like, "I'm putting a team together," and he's like, "What's your power?" Then his arm falls off and he's like, "That's it. Yep, that's it."
I'll be on my way. Wait,
aren't
you
kill you now because you know I'm Bruce Wayne.
Archie Bruce Wayne battering to the face. There's a Jimmy Kimmel sketch. He's a big talk show host in America. If you don't know, there's a Jimmy Kimmel sketch of like a Batman Superman, like a deleted scene where they're at that party and Jimmy Kimmel's there, and like he realizes that Batman Superman who they are. He's just like, wait a minute, you look. That's a great test. So like, what if you have like arm fall off guy and have him be played by Jimmy Kimmel? it's just like Jimmy Kimmel constantly trying to get to Justice League, and Batman's just like, no, it's okay. He's like, are you sure? Because I my arm falls off. That's my power. He's like, yeah, no, we need something a bit more powerful. He's like, I could throw it at people. And it's just like this talk of him trying to get on the team. All right, that's our answer for the show. That's our answer.
Or Plastic Man. Love to see Plastic Man.
I'm down for him. I'm down.
Matter Eating Lad. Love to see him.
Oh,
where his power is to eat everything.
Oh, right on. Oh man, people ask some long questions on this show.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta read through all these. Okay, actually, what? Speaking of long, we're approaching 3 hours. I think it's a good place to end the show.
Okay. And thank you for our weekly artist this week. Again, this is another anonymous one who didn't tell me what name they want me to say. Thank you, artist out there, for this logo. A very classy one. This one.
I quite enjoy this one. I wouldn't mind this one being the permanent logo. I wouldn't mind putting this on one on my wall. I think I like it. I'm in the middle, so that's nice. Yeah. Yeah. My bald head shining with the projector light. Yes. Good to know I'm no longer bald.
Yeah, it was very good. Very good. I like it.
Yeah. I like the kind of the oil pastel look of it. Like it looked like it was done handmade, but it was clearly done on a computer. But I really enjoyed that one. Good job, Anonymous.
Absolutely. But, thank you, Anon.
Typically, though, I think people in the comments usually go, "Hey, look, my picture was in there." So I think he'll probably show up somewhere, and he'll probably won't be a liar.
Totally.
Yeah, but I really do like this one. Yeah, good job. Thank you all for watching our Movie Mania podcast, the show this week, talking about Denzel Washington, some of the movie news, and your listener questions. Bandit, where can people find you?
The people can find me on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter as Bandit Incorporated, and they can find you.
Time codes listed below. They can find me on YouTube's, Twitters, and Instagram, all at Podcast Media. Trilbee, he'll be back next week, hopefully. Join us next week when we talk with Trilbee, the original Seven Samurai, the original Mike Gibson 7, and its upcoming remake. Catch you all later, our Movie Maniacs.